Raw.
Monday Night Raw. It was old school Raw. Ric Flair came out for a promo.
That was a fun little excursion, by the way, right there we just had.
See? It all worked out. They showed pictures of him giving his pep talk to the San Francisco 49ers. This was so old school for Flair that he cut this entire promo in sunglasses, which he has not done in a long time.
You know what's funny about him in sunglasses? He came out in sunglasses, and usually old guys wear sunglasses because they're... Someone just suggested they were cookies full of anthrax. That's why the big white thing flew up. I hope not.
Anthrax cookies.
Old people often wear sunglasses because they got all the wrinkles and such around their eyes, and so if you wear sunglasses, you look younger. But strangely enough, Flair looked at least 25 years older with the sunglasses on than when he took them off. I thought.
Somebody just sent us a note here. I didn't know this. I'm assuming this is not the same guy. I'm assuming it's a rib. But Ben Haggerty is Macklemore's real name.
Really?
Yeah. And Sharkface Gang are his fans.
So what? Macklemore sent me a Christmas present? What are you saying?
That's what we were to believe, yes.
Which one did he send me?
The shirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. It's not impossible. I'd be surprised.
Uh-oh.
Did you get cookies with anthrax dust on it?
Hold on a second. Witty!
Or we're not supposed to open this on the air?
I think this is something for her.
Well, it's a good thing the show isn't live. Oh, wait!
Oops. All right, you take over for a second.
I'll talk about Raw while you go save your marriage.
Oh, it's nothing like that.
All right. So, Ric Flair, they showed him giving his pep talk to the San Francisco 49ers. Who, by the way... I thought it was for me. I have to... I'm sorry. It's quite distracting.
You told me all about it. I was going to wait to the gym.
When he's appalled that Bryan was going to wear a girl shirt to the gym. He's done it before. Okay, she's gone.
All right, we figured that out.
Okay, I'm glad that got settled.
That was a moment.
I'll say.
I thought Macklemore sent me a Christmas present. If you hadn't mentioned that, I honest to God would have worn that. She would have wondered forever where her shirt was. Did not put two and two together.
No. Frankly, I still haven't, but I'm just going to move on. So, Flair came out and said nothing, but he was Ric Flair, and so it was awesome. Orton interrupted. They had a big hug, but Orton was very respectful. But then he said this show was not about all the legends. It was all about him. And he liked Rick. So he was going to allow Rick a chance to step aside so Orton could speak his mind. So Flair just backed up and smirked.
Go ahead.
Orton talked about Stephanie booking himself against Cena in the Rumble. She did this without consulting him first. He claimed he had beaten Cena already, so Cena did not deserve a rematch. I have totally lost my place in my notes here.
Well, I'll just read some of these tweets.
All right.
Stop judging the chicken mailers.
Okay.
Ryan says you're 3 steps away from living in a bunker. That's actually true. Jorge here says, I used to work for the USPS. I saw baby chicks every day along with cases of crickets. Every night, never failed. Never knew why. Owen Sons here says, if a chicken is someone's idea of a quirky pet, then they're just an asshole. Not a fan. All right, go on.
So he said Cena deserved no rematch, and Flair stepped up and said, look, back in my day, when you were world champion, that meant you wrestled every night, 7 days a week against the very best competition you could find. That's how good I was. That's how hard I worked. Orton said Flair had always been overrated, asked him to leave. Flair refused. Said he and Hunter had picked Orton for Evolution because he was that talented, but he was also an immature punk, and he had never grown out of being an immature punk. And Orton dared him to fight, but before Flair had a chance to either get in a fight or back down, John Cena came out and essentially volunteered to fight for him. And Orton backed away, and Flair was cackling, and then he and Cena celebrated, and that was the end of that.
How about that? This was just like a segment to waste time. That's what it was.
You don't say.
Yeah.
They cut to the announcers, who were wearing the old school mustard yellow and red jackets, and I also like that JBL took the time to don the classic Vince McMahon 1980s hairdo.
Granny got it to work, everybody.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Looked good on him, actually. He looked like he should be the front man of a 50s band.
The jacket helped. They also mentioned that Jerry Lawler had been to the hospital, and if you wanted to hear how he was doing, you could get the app. That's disgusting. Get the app to find out if this guy lived or died, everybody.
Well, it was pretty disgusting, but he had indigestion. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have been, if he
Did
would
they know
actually...
that when this aired?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he made it back by then.
Yeah.
Obviously,
he was back in the building begging to be on the air.
I see.
He'd already been interviewed by the app, so he was fine. I mean, if it would actually been a hard issue and they'd done this, I mean, I can't say I would have boycotted WWE because it is my job, but I would have been significantly more upset than the fact that he had indigestion.
Okay. And the fact that they knew he was okay by the start of the show, that also changes things.
They were considering putting him on the air.
Yeah, well, there you go. Rey Mysterio and the Usos against the Wyatt family. There was not even an entrance for the good guys. And the Wyatts came out with Bryan. The fans were chanting no. They were chanting his name. He tagged in early against Rey, and I'm pretty sure they matched him up against Rey because Rey is like the one guy on the roster who could actually get sympathy when Daniel Bryan beat him up.
Maybe indigestion is not the right term. He had food poisoning and was sick.
That's worse.
But it was not a heart issue.
But it was not an issue with his heart, which had previously caused him to die on live TV.
Yes.
So, a bunch of dives happened during the break. You could also see that on the app. Every time Bryan threw a kick, fans were still chanting yes for him. They also cheered for Rey when he got his hot tag. And Rowan dodged a splash, and then Bryan tagged himself in, but when he stepped through, Harper tagged himself in. So they couldn't even get through one match as a unified team. And then Harper was immediately pinned by an Uso with a roll-up. And by the way, the Usos losing weight, slimming down. And bad guys were all upset, especially Bray Wyatt was upset with Luke Harper. So there you go. They announced that Batista would be in the Royal Rumble this year. Fans could vote for the guest referee for the Damian Sandow Great Khali rematch that we've all been longing for.
Yes.
And the choices were Sergeant Slaughter, Arn Anderson, or Bob Backlund, who I think here for the first time literally ever, I thought to myself, wow, Backlund's starting to get older. So
well, he is almost 65.
I know, but it took this long. Stayed remarkably fresh and young and vibrant and healthy. So they left, and in walked Glenn the Libertarian, who was never more of a libertarian than he was in the segment. He gave Maddox a chance to repeat to his face what he had said last week when he was off the show. And Brad suggested that Glenn would hurt him, and Glenn cited by page number the WWE's Code of Conduct policy that determined he would be terminated if he laid his hands on another executive. But then he said if he was fired, long story short, there would be nothing to stop him from killing Brad. And so he advised Brad to watch what he said to Hunter and Steph in the future. Big E Langston was walking backstage where he passed up Nikolai Volkov, Ted DiBiase Sr., and Bray Wyatt Sr. Curtis Axel wrestled Big E Langston again.
Feud will never end. This is the new Ms. Kofi.
Except, I don't know if this is better, but at least here, it is better. At least here, one guy wins every time. So you've always got Curtis Axel going for that one win. But at some point, if you were Big E, wouldn't you want to fight somebody else?
Oh, yeah.
So
let me tell you.
Well, yeah. Ryback was on commentary taking shots at Lillian Garcia, who's not even on the show.
I like Curtis Axel. I'm not saying anything negative about Curtis Axel and his wrestling, except if I were Big E Langston, I would not want to be chained down to wrestling Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to have nobody care.
That is not a shot at Curtis Axel. That's a shot at where Curtis Axel is on the card. So Ryback took shots at Big E, he said he was stronger than Big E and Mark Henry, by the way. He said Big E needed a bra. And then he distracted Big E so Axel could get the heat. And I put that in finger quotes because it lasted exactly 2 moves. And then Langston did a clothesline in the beginning for the win. And Ryback said he was still waiting for Big E to get over. Roddy Piper came out. His guests on Piper's Pit were The Shield. They came out immediately before he could even say anything. So Ambrose ran him down for a while. Piper ran Ambrose down for a while, and then he said, my body, essentially, I'm not quoting here, but my body is broken, but my mind is still sharp. There's only one guy in this place who can match me on the microphone. And he looked in Dean's eyes and said, and his name is CM Punk. And Ambrose started to snap, and Rollins pulled him away. Rollins said Piper was jealous that Ambrose was a better U.S. champion than he'd ever been, and Dean started to strut around in his belt. Piper said, look, Ambrose, you couldn't beat CM Punk. Rollins, you couldn't beat CM Punk. So if Roman Reigns beat CM Punk tonight, does that prove he's the best guy on the team? And Rollins and Ambrose turned to Reigns. They told him, don't listen to any of this. And Reigns had just stood in the background of this entire segment. And finally, he stepped forward and he said he vowed to beat Punk tonight, and he threatened to break Piper in half. And Ambrose and Rollins were giddy with the violence they were about to unleash on this old man when the weirdest trio I ever saw in my life came out. CM Punk and the New Age Outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
Just friends.
It's old school, dude.
I guess so. They all ran out to make the save. And the bad guys bailed, and that was it. And it was a very good segment. And you know who was really great here? Seth Rollins. For a year now in the Shield, he's been the...
You act like you're shocked.
Well, promos has never been his strong point. His wrestling's been awesome.
I see.
But he's been fine. He's not like he's embarrassed himself. But he's been like the rest of the guys in the Shield. He's been the super intense badass. Here, he was more of a laid-back, cocky guy. And it was much more natural and it fit him much better. So that was that.
You know, I got to go back and find out how to get this guy's win-loss record. There it is. Roman Reigns. In WWE, I guess this counts, doesn't count, doesn't separate singles and tag team matches. I can only think of one time ever that Roman Reigns has been beaten in WWE.
I believe he was the guy who actually got pinned when they lost their first match.
That was the one
which was
loss I can think he's had in his entire WWE career. You would think that they would bring that up at some point. Let's see here. Regular singles. It just has a... If anybody can remember another time that Roman Reigns has been beaten, except for that one time, let me know. Because that's pretty impressive. That's a stat they should be bringing up. And also, it tells you how stupid they were for beating him one time. This man should be undefeated still.
Yeah.
At least as far as never having been pinned. But such is life.
They did Brock Lesnar highlight video, which was the most awesome thing ever because besides just the fact that it was Brock Lesnar killing people, they edited Brock's screaming into the background music. Amazing work. Amazing work. Alberto Del Rio versus Sin Cara. Sin Cara is a different guy, and he's wearing purple gear. So why are they still wrestling under blue and yellow lights?
I don't know.
What's the point?
You know, they do that.
It's going to piss me off every time.
They do that, and they do Bad News Bear just to piss you off.
Okay.
And it makes me laugh every time.
All right.
I love it.
You know what? That's a reason.
It is a reason.
So good. So Sin Cara missed a senton, and Del Rio hit a super kick for the win. And here's a good case of even Steven booking. And then Del Rio cut a promo saying that he was going to win the Rumble, and in the process, he was going to eliminate Batista from the match.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I would not put my money on Del Rio's chances. Wyatt Family had a meeting backstage. Bryan said, look, I joined you guys to learn, but I can also teach you.
That's for sure.
I can teach everyone. Yeah, I said he had been tag team champions with Kane, who was as big as either of them. He wanted to do a tag match with them next week to try to teach them how to wrestle like Kane. And then Bray arrived and said, that's not going to happen because you're teaming with me. Real Americans versus the Rhodes brothers. At some point, Cody needs to wear face paint like his brother. Maybe do that at Mania if they make it as a team that long. So, this match ruled. It was, in fact, an old-school tag team match. It was great. Cody was crawling for the hot tag, and Cesaro ran across the ring and hit Goldust with a big boot, knocked him off the apron. And they wiped Goldust out for a minute or two, and then Swagger put Cody in the ankle lock, and Goldust returned and hit a big boot of his own to break it up. And he got a hot tag and ran wild, and eventually he pinned Swagger with a spinning suplex. This was a great TV tag match. DDP was backstage doing yoga.
Goldust got the job done again, by the way.
Indeed, he did. DDP was backstage doing yoga and smiling. Booker T walked in. You've never seen a man so blatantly and unapologetically shill his product as DDP did here.
And this surprises you how?
It doesn't. I'm not surprised. I'm impressed. He's a great salesman. And they made jokes about being old until Ron Simmons walked in and said, damn.
Well, he's trying to get Booker to do yoga. And then Booker threw his back out breathing.
Which is what old men do. Damian Sandow wrestled Great Khali with a guest ref. Sergeant Slaughter got 55% of the vote. Arn got 30. Backlund got 15.
Are you surprised by this? I was. Dave wasn't. I thought Backlund was winning.
I might have been if you asked me before. If you just gave me these three names, I thought about it, and I realized it was a nationwide vote, not just people in the arena. But when they put these three candidates in the screen backstage, the reaction was far greater for Sarge than either one. Didn't
Backlund almost win one of these a while back? Like they had some sort of deal and they put Backlund in there and he almost won. Am I imagining things?
That's entirely possible.
Anyway.
So Khali squashed him, hit him with a chop. Damien got a foot on the ropes. Sarge didn't care. Counter 3 anyway. Damien protested. Sarge put him in the Cobra Clutch. And then the only thing worthwhile was Sergeant Slaughter dancing with Khali and Ranjit Singh afterwards. Sarge needs to dance more.
I love how they had a screwed up botch finish. And now they're determined to convince us that it wasn't a screw up because it's part of a 3-match series.
Yes.
Poor Damian Sandow.
Yes,
but you know what? It was his fault, so he's getting what he deserves.
It's his fault that Khali's shoulder came up?
Yeah, Khali is completely immobile.
Yes.
And so you can't try to get his knees to touch his head when you cradle him.
I see.
He's going to roll over.
I see.
That's exactly what he did. He tried to stack him when he did this roll up, and of course the dude's shoulder's going to come up. You're not cradling Dolph Ziggler. Cradling the great Khali. He doesn't bend that way.
He doesn't bend at all.
Yeah, so don't try to take him over that far. He paid. He's got to have a 3-match series. Learned a lesson.
Brock Lesnar came out. He has a new shirt that reads, Eat, Sleep, Conquer, Repeat. I'm actually surprised he sleeps. JBL pointed out that last week, Brock Lesnar has declared himself the #1 contender, and no one had argued. He just, through intimidation alone, dubbed himself the top guy. So Heyman repeated kind of what he had said in that SmackDown interview. He said what old school meant was one guy standing in the ring as champion, the undisputed best guy in the company, fighting a different guy every night, and being the main man. Reigning supreme is the expression he used. Like Bruno Sammartino had done, like Hulk Hogan had done, and Steve Austin had done. Said no one in pro wrestling, mixed martial arts, or any other sport could compete with Brock. Tried to get the crowd to repeat the mantra on Brock's shirt, but then Mark Henry arrived. They had a very brief brawl. It went as badly for Mark Henry this week as it did last week. Brock put him in the Kimura, got a maniacal look on his face, like more maniacal than usual. And then he snapped Henry's arm to the side, which they later said was a dislocation of the elbow. Heyman pulled Brock away. They started to leave until Big Show arrived. And Brock was surprised by this. And then he retreated to the ring and dared Big Show to join him. Show obliged. And then Heyman and Brock backed away. Then Heyman distracted Show so Lesnar could blindside him, but it didn't work. And Show pushed Lesnar back to the corner. And he tried to beel Brock across the ring, but their timing was off. So what happened essentially was Brock Lesnar, of his own free will, launched himself head over heels, doing a twisting corkscrew flip onto his stomach across the ring, and then tumbling to the floor.
Completely nuts.
So Brock Lesnar, for the record, is the biggest, scariest guy in the company, and also takes the best bumps. And Heyman was able to pull Brock away. Brock is amazing, everybody.
He is amazing. He didn't get hurt. Nothing.
No. And because I'm a freak who watches this stuff, well, for for a job and somewhat obsessively anyway. I remember the great Brock Lesnar Big Show feud from 13 years ago, whatever it was, 12 years ago. But for most fans, I'm sure it's a brand new, fresh matchup.
Hey, everybody that is listening right now, did you all get kicked off 4 minutes ago? Go ahead and tweet me. I was kind of just sort of keeping an eye on the listeners, and all of a sudden I noticed we were down like tons of listeners, and I thought, did everyone just turn off the show? Did you say something that really...
Perhaps they grew tired of me.
But now I'm looking at everyone's listen time, and it's like a couple minutes. So something happened, and the stream kicked everybody off. I don't know why. So I will talk to Admin Tony. That is why we're here, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I got 8 million people now texting or tweeting, telling me what happened. So sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what happened. But it'll be fine on the download. Nothing went wrong on this end, so I don't know what happened. Go on.
Maybe you finally broke the... You said you were trying to break it.
Yeah, I don't think I broke it. It just stopped.
All right. Bella Twins versus Oksana and Alicia. As always, JBL and Cole, when calling a women's match, completely zoned out and just started making jokes at each other and whatever was on their mind. And Cole called JBL Vampiro Americano. And I'd heard this name. I don't think I realized it was JBL, but I'd certainly never seen him in it. So I Googled it. Everyone go Google Vampiro Americano right now. You will see JBL with an epic blonde mullet, bad Ultimate Warrior makeup, and a black singlet. He's giving a thumbs up, standing next to Latin lover who looks about 8 years old. It's a fantastic photo.
Sounds like a Starbucks drink.
The Vampiro Americano?
Yeah.
I suppose it does. So Oksana managed to screw up getting pushed into and off of the ropes. And then Brie missed a dropkick, and Oksana pinned her. So, again, yes, even Steven booking, and yes, she pinned her after a missed dropkick. Three-man band versus Too Cool and Rikishi.
Oh, yeah.
Grandmaster Sexay is starting to look like his dad a lot. Scotty Too Hottie is now a fireman, and I think he's in better shape and has a better tan than when he was a regular on the show. When he hit the worm, this place went ballistic. Although it was not the finish. And in fact, McIntyre no-sold it entirely and popped up and booted him in the face. Finally made a hot tag to Rikishi, who was bigger than ever.
I actually thought he looked better than ever. I think it must be just because he was wearing pants.
He did have the largest pair of leather pants I've ever seen. He tried a super kick and got Jinder in the shoulder. And then Grandmaster Sexay hit the top rope leg drop. Rikishi sat on Jinder and pinned him. And all the guys danced, just like the old days. This was fun. I'm glad Three-Man Band is around so the legends can beat them up and get another moment in the sun.
That's right. So everyone did get kicked off. And Adam wants you to know that he really likes you and he didn't stop listening because of you.
Aw, thanks, Adam. That's one.
That's one.
So...
And apparently it dropped again. God damn it. What's going on here?
So they brought out all the legends one last time. Godfather came out with them. They played his music. Ric Flair was dancing to it, which was amazing. Each guy got introduced and the fans could cheer him. It was all very nice. And then Bad News Barrett arrived. He zipped his podium up into the sky. He ran down the legends for being washed up. Said everyone would forget their names. And that was his bad news. And they cut to the announcers, and they were talking about what had just happened. And Cole casually noted that JBL wasn't too far away from being a legend himself. And JBL looked stunned, like this had never crossed his mind before, but he couldn't deny it. Which is funny, because so many of those guys up on the stage are his peers.
Mm-hmm.
But it never occurred to him, holy cow, I am. Well, there's two ways of looking at it. I am a legend. And I am old. These are both true. And he looked overwhelmed by this realization. It was an epiphany moment for JBL live on TV. Speaking of old people, Mean Gene Okerlund came out, plugged his hotline. That was funny.
I thought the funniest part was when he plugged his hotline. Everybody sat there, Nobody laughed except the announcers. And so Mean Gene looked around and said, well, one person got it.
Yep.
Gene's awesome.
Gene is amazing. Then the New Age Outlaws came out. They did their shtick. Billy was blown up. JBL noted this. They brought out CM Punk, who came out in a Ribera Steakhouse jacket for Old School Raw. I was hoping he'd have Zuba's pants too, but it was not to be. Then Punk and Reigns had what for a long time was just a very average match. And then Ambrose and Rollins tried to interfere, and they brawled with the New Age Outlaws. And from that point forward, everyone was totally into this. So it was like everyone knew the four guys on the floor were going to get involved, and they didn't care about anything until that point. And afterwards, they were totally into it. So they went back and forth for a while. There was one more distraction from Ambrose, and finally Reigns won with a spear. Rollins and Ambrose were ecstatic for their partner's win, and were about to kill Punk when out came Jake the Snake Roberts, looking better than he has in decades. DDP is a miracle worker. Shield were just mystified by this, and then Punk and the Outlaws laid them out. Punk hit an old school airplane spin on Ambrose, and then they go to sleep. And Ambrose was prone in the ring. They put the snake on him. He was trying so hard not to laugh, and that's how Raw went off the air. So that was a fun show.
A fun old school Raw. Their idea now is that every year in January, right around this time, probably going head-to-head with whatever game was Monday night. What game was Monday night?
The College Football National Championship.
All right. It's this the annual tradition will be head-to-head with the College National Championships. Is going to be old school Raw. And it did pay off for them. They got a great number going head-to-head with a gigantic game, apparently. So there you go. All right, a couple of notes here before we wrap up. All right, with all that out of the way, fellas, let's get to Raw.
Raw opened with, in fact, Usos versus the Wyatts. It was Bray and Daniel this time instead of Rowan and Harper. Fans were chanting for Bryan, roaring for his kicks, and then when the Usos hit an enziguri on him to set up the hot tag, they booed. And eventually the Usos hit twin dives, and then Harper and Rowan attacked for the DQ. Again. Usos were able to escape. I was fine with them running away here because they were outnumbered by two men. Wyatt blamed this loss on Bryan. Told him to kneel in the ring. Fans were chanting no. Bray hit him with Sister Abigail. And they carried his limp body backstage. Damien Sandow versus John Cena. It showed Damien cashing in his briefcase against Cena last year and losing. He used a wacky move, kind of like a scorpion, and JBL said, "That's the Royal Arch."
Of course! The Royal Arch!
Why is it royal?
Because he's Damien Sandow.
He's a genius. He's not a king.
Well, all kings are geniuses, and vice versa.
That is not true.
I don't have a better explanation.
So,
what do you want him to call it? The plebeian pole?
The smart arch.
The smart arch?
Yes.
The smarch?
Why not? In fact, if he uses it again, I'm going to call it the smart arch. So, they had a good match that actually had a great finish. Damien managed to get the ropes and Cena hooked the STF. And then Damien cut him off and put him in a crossface. But Cena powered him up and hit the AA for the win. It was a great finish to a good match.
Good finish, good match. First one was better.
And then Cena went out and hugged his dad. And I thought, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, you knew.
And I also knew that the guy behind Daddy Cena was wearing the Rougeau Brothers All-American Boys t-shirt. So that guy's awesome.
I just got flooded with about 25 tweets from people saying the stream is working perfectly fine for them. So I stand by my claim that perhaps it is a problem on Steven's end. But again, we're working to fix it there, Steven.
I see one of those people who says it's running well is Lance Storm. And another one, Chris Maloney, says stream is good here in London, Ontario.
Yeah.
So maybe things are only breaking here in the U.S.
I don't know.
All right. Kane met with Brad Maddox. Maddox said, man, things are falling apart here. Somebody got beat up in that first segment. Like that never happens on Raw. So his solution to this chaos of two guys getting beat up after a match, which happens in every segment, his solution to this was to book the same four guys in a steel cage, And Kane's solution to this was, okay, but we'll lock the door and I'll have the key.
So that begs the question that I asked Dave last night. Is Kane a secret agent? Is he a double agent?
So he's on the good guy side?
Yeah. He keeps making he made the match for Orton that Orton ended up losing. He controlled the key in the cage match, which was to Bray Wyatt's detriment, who, of course, he was feuding with the Wyatts.
True.
I think he's a double agent.
This whole thing started when he said working with Steph would be best for business, and he never explained anything else. Other than apparently he just is greedy. Big Show versus Jack Swagger. The idea being that Big Show was facing Brock Lesnar, who was a big, scary wrestler. So here he faced a big, scary wrestler and killed him to death. A complete burial. And
Is that what the story was?
That's what I got out of it.
Went over my head.
They mentioned this. Heyman mentioned this later. But, yeah. I mean, I know it's Jack Swagger, and he's been around, and he's not going to be anything more than what he is now. But there was no one else for him to kill.
No.
They don't have jobbers anymore.
Apparently not.
So Antonio ran away, and Big Show, a complete, unadulterated bully, grabbed Zeb Coulter. And they teased this for a long time, and Antonio almost made a save, but then he didn't. And Zeb was begging for mercy, and finally Big Show took this innocent man and punched him in the face.
Complete jerk.
What an asshole.
Where's Todd when I need him? Todd does not like jerks.
Well, he won't like Big Show then.
And the Big Show was a complete and total jerk here.
Antonio was looking on in horror, and just keep all this in mind.
This fella here says he should call it the double helix.
Call what the double helix?
Sandow's finish.
Sure.
Yeah. Kind of looks like a double helix.
It sort of does, actually. Just
yeah.
Twisting and corkscrewy. We had a rematch of CM Punk and the New Age Outlaws against The Shield. Seth Rollins is not content any longer to wrestle. He's no longer content to wrestle in paramilitary gear. He has also added long sleeves.
I did notice he was wearing a full long sleeve rash guard. I just presumed he had like a
new tattoo?
Maybe a new tattoo or, I don't know. We'll see if he has it again next week.
Yep. So the Outlaws started, and then Punk tagged in. And as soon as Punk tagged in, Ambrose freaked out a bit. And his partners offered him a chance to tag out, but he blew him off and decided to wrestle instead. So Punk has gotten in Ambrose's head. And then Ambrose wrestled for a while, and he failed. And Rollins tried it for a while, and he failed. And they tagged in Roman. And as soon as he tagged in Roman, the whole place just started to buzz. And it goes back, there's so many things there. Simple stories are always the best. And long-term simple stories are great.
Sounds familiar?
Yeah, I know we just talked about this, I think, on our very last show, or maybe the show before that. But when they want to do it right, they still can.
Yes.
It's just so often they don't
understand how, they just rarely do it.
Yes. So they beat up Punk for a long time. Tease the hot tag, and Punk's crawling into the corner. He's crawling, and he's crawling, and he's crawling. And then when he gets there, the Outlaws jump off the apron and walk to the back. They're Hunter's friends after all. One of your cats, by the way, is...
they do this all the time.
I believe the doll is chasing them.
A doll could be chasing them. You know, we've got a Frosty the Snowman gimmick for Christmas. Mm-hmm. It stands on one leg, and you take its hat off, and it sings Frosty the Snowman and spins around on its foot. Cats punch it all the time, knock it over. They hate that thing. They do not like dolls.
So, yeah, Punk was left 3-on-1. And, of course, that did not go well, and Reigns speared him and pinned him, and that was that. Oh, and they had the triple powerbomb for good measure.
I've been alerted, by the way, that it looks like it was non-title, and they are going to do the Outlaws versus the Rhodes at the Royal Rumble for the titles.
All right. Okay, that. Wyatt's got a promo backstage about how inside the cage they were going to find absolution and redemption, and Bryan said they would find, I believe he said, monsters.
Monsters.
AJ and Tamina versus the Funkadactyls. I missed this, but apparently somewhere in here, Emma debuted.
Yes.
She was in the crowd waving a sign.
Emma Lucian?
I believe it was Emmatainment.
Emmatainment?
I did not see it myself. Read reports from others. But she was apparently in the crowd holding a sign and doing her wacky dance.
JBL even mentioned it.
Yep. I did not see that part. I just saw the part where they were discussing 40-year-old movies. They squashed Cameron. Naomi never even tagged in. AJ pinned her with a Shining Wizard. And then Naomi hit the ring and cleaned house. So the Funkadactyl looks like the Funkadactyls are breaking up. That's what I got out of this.
The Funkadactyls are breaking up.
Because Cameron's going to get jealous of Naomi. Or something.
I don't think that's happening. I think they just did a goofy finish.
With Naomi never even tagging in?
Who the hell, by the way, taught Cameron to run the ropes?
I don't know.
This problem is really starting to irritate me. I shouldn't care. But I do. Because Cameron is actually improving. And then she goes to run the ropes, and it's like, what are you doing?
So, Orton was backstage, storming through the backstage area, looking for Hunter and Steph. The show was 90 minutes old. My first thought was, oh my God, the show is only 90 minutes old. My second thought was, has Orton spent the last hour and a half storming through these hallways?
Well, it's a big building, you know.
I guess so.
And when you don't find him, you keep looking till you do.
Stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
I see. So, after the break, he did not find Hunter and Steph. He found Kane instead. And Kane said, look, I'm going to give you a match with Kofi Kingston to blow off some steam. And Orton was pleased. Hell froze over in the next segment.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Warrior is going into the Hall of Fame.
The Warrior. You know, I could give a big speech about the Warrior. I won't. I'll just keep it brief. Warrior was in the first wrestling match that I really remember. It was Warrior versus Dino Bravo.
Holy God.
And I kept watching.
Yeah. Well, I can't talk because the first match I remember was Junkyard Dog and the Missing Link.
I was about 12 years old. And I know this because here's what I owe to the Warrior. First off, this got me into wrestling. And now here I am, 38, living the dream. But what I really owe Warrior is that I'm 38 and still alive, because it was Warrior that got me into lifting weights. Because I was watching Warrior versus Dino Bravo, and I was like, my God, look at the size of this freak. And at the time, in 7th grade, we had Shirts and Skins basketball. And guess what team I was on? Skins. About 60 pounds soaking wet. Same height I am now, probably. And embarrassing as all hell. So I decided, man, look at this big jacked up guy. I'm going to go lift some weights so I'll look like the Warrior. And so I started lifting weights, and I have ever since. So I owe my workout career, believe it or not, to the Ultimate Warrior. And it's different now because everyone's a lot more savvy. But I remember that when the whole baseball steroid scandal went down, you'd recall better than I. But there was a big argument that, my God, the kids. You know, these big jacked up guys, kids are all going to get on steroids. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's true because when the scandal broke, I mean, everybody knew the scandal was about these dudes on steroids. But when I was 11, I had absolutely no idea this guy was on steroids. Allegedly. I just thought, hey, if I lift a bunch of weights, I'll look like that guy. And so I did. I kept lifting weights. And I thought, if I lift weights and I eat well, I will become as big as the Warrior. And it was always kind of like, you know, people were critical of Hogan because Hogan's talking about training and saying your prayers and eating your vitamins, and meanwhile he's doing all this stuff. And I always kind of thought, because I was one of the kids, if you don't know what Hogan's doing, then what difference does it make in the sense that he still can be encouraging you to train, say your prayers, and eat your vitamins, right?
Sure.
So Warrior made a positive difference in my life because I didn't know any better because I was a kid. So anyway, I'm happy to see that Warrior is going into the Hall of Fame. He was involved in one of the worst matches I've ever seen, I'm not going to lie. Halloween Havoc with Hogan.
More than one.
Yeah? Well, many of them. You're right. but I was a huge Warrior fan when I was a kid. When I first started doing the backyard wrestling, the YWF, I was the Beast. I painted my face. I had tassels on. Huge Warrior fan at 115 pounds. But I just kept trying. So anyway, thumbs up to Warrior going in the Hall of Fame.
Renee Young interviewed Paul Heyman. Heyman noted that the show had proven what a tough guy he was. I actually wrote here on SmackDown, but it was, of course, on this very show. He had proven what a tough guy he was by knocking out an old man.
True. Bully.
He said show's pituitary gland surgery had clearly led to a case of stupidity. Not true. He noted that Brock Lesnar's amateur resume dwarfed Jack Swagger's. Neither he nor Lesnar were intimidated.
Lance just called me a naive idiot. I was 11.
I remember when Hulk said training prayers and vitamins, and I thought by vitamins, he means steroids.
So maybe I was a naive idiot. It doesn't matter.
Anyway. Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston. This match was evidence to me that Raw had been moved to 8 hours, and no one told me. The whole story of this was that Orton was the better wrestler and had many opportunities to put Kofi away, but chose not to. And I've mentioned this before. In UFC, if you do that, you get fired. So they're wrestling and they're wrestling and they're wrestling. It wasn't bad. It was just going long. And then Orton went to put on his chin lock. And this is when I gave up on it.
That was a long one.
And there were random chants for Daniel Bryan by like 3 people. And a couple hours went by and they were chanting Cena's better. This went on and on. It's like a journey. A journey? That's a bad example. A journey you get somewhere.
A journey to the bottom of the sea.
This just went on and on and on. And then out of nowhere, Kofi escaped the elevated DDT, hit an SOS for the pin. So, yes, he pinned the WWE World Heavyweight Champion clean after getting his ass kicked for 14 straight minutes.
Yep.
This did not make Orton happy. Kofi left. Orton snapped. He took a couple of shots at Cena's dad. And the guy in the Rougeau shirt actually tried to make the save. And Orton pushed him away. Security immediately ran over to separate things. So Cena comes running down. They spent several minutes tending to him at ringside. They went to break. They came back. They were loading him into an ambulance. And Cena's like, "Can I ride with him? Is that okay?" And they say, "Yeah, go in the back." Orton punched him like 2 times.
Hey, old man.
This was
He punched you twice, Vinny.
This is okay, 2 things. One, not long ago on this program, I guess it has been 2 years now. I forget exactly when it happened, but Jerry Lawler had a heart attack and died. And it was not as big a deal as this attack on Cena's father.
Actually, it was a much bigger deal, Vinny. Let's be fair. I want, you know.
You know what? That's.
I want truth on this show.
Yeah. That was a horrible example because I didn't need to see Lawler loaded into an ambulance or anything. But a better example. On this very program, a much larger man than Randy Orton punched an old guy in the head and left him unconscious. And there was no ambulance. And there was no medics.
No John Cena running down.
No one came down to save
a fair weather fella
when the Big Show punched him in the face and knocked him unconscious.
Yeah, well.
So this was stupid. This was stupid. The brothers Rhodes against Ryback and Curtis Axel.
Somebody says, someone needs to do a Journey song since you spoke of it being a journey. And they could put "Don't Stop Chin Lockin'" is the lyrics.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that the Rhodes are apparently having a match with the New Age Outlaws. And as long as they're having a match with them, I say great. Because as much as I love the Rhodes brothers, I have seen them wrestle the same 3 or 4 teams now for months.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was time to turn somebody heel or get a new team together or something. They talked about Ryback's Twitter meltdown. Talked about the network. JBL said, if you get the network, you will be able to see me lose a world championship match to Kurt Hennig. He added it was not fair because you, meaning Lawler, booked the territory. They all laughed at this.
Sounds like Carino doing commentary.
Indeed. Ryback press slammed Goldust. He's strong. And then eventually Cody hit Axel with Crossroads for the win.
It's fine.
It was fine. I've seen these all.
So the Ryback deal, everybody, if you haven't figured it out, is they need something to get people talking on the weekends when nothing's going on. So it may be Ryback, it may be somebody else, but people will tweet wacky things. It'll get a buzz. I don't know what it has to do with anything, but that's their idea right now. And he's crazy.
There is that.
It's also completely out of his mind.
And according to JBL, also stupid.
He's not well liked.
I'm just saying what JBL said.
I was told that one of the reasons that he is so disliked is, remember they were talking vaguely in commentary about Ryback and what's his face and the primetime players, Titus O'Neil, and they kept mentioning Ryback and Titus arm wrestling.
Yes.
But they never really explained everything. Mm-hmm. So apparently there was going to be, they were trying to set up Titus O'Neil versus Ryback in an arm wrestling match for charity, and Ryback allegedly refused to do it. And so they were very unhappy with him as a result of this.
I see.
So he is quite disliked at the moment, and they'll be making fun of him regularly, I guess, on commentary, calling him
Was
crazy.
he afraid of losing this arm wrestling match?
I guess. I don't know why else he wouldn't do it for charity. That's the story, though.
What a strange business this is.
You don't even know.
No, I don't.
You don't even know.
In a new Batista hype video, these are all great.
I can't wait for Big Dave to return.
That's going to be awesome. Rey Mysterio versus Alberto Del Rio.
He needed a new luchador to beat, since he never grapples anyone else.
I guess so. Rey, of all people, cut an inset promo about the Rumble. He talked about how he'd won it once. He'd set the Iron Man record. And then he said that was 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Where's the time gone?
That made me feel 100 years old.
Well, somebody here noted, when it regards Goldust and the New Age Outlaws, let's see if I can find where it was. Apparently, they had a Royal Rumble opener in, 1999.
I'm sure they did. In fact, I am sure they did. Somewhere in there. So, serious question. Has Rey been with WWE longer than he was with WCW? It must have been.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. That's still weird to me. So, I must correct myself. Here was the point in the show where I thought Raw had moved to 8 hours. No one had told me. It was the same thing. Del Rio was working over Rey very slowly. Or, as Cole said, taking his time with Mysterio tonight.
1999, Road Dogg and Goldust opening up the Royal Rumble.
It's amazing. Goldust is better now.
Oh, yeah.
So, finally, Rey hit the 619. He went up top, but Del Rio crossed him and hit a super kick, put on the armbar, and Rey tapped out. Del Rio cut a promo saying, "Hey, Dave, I just beat up your friend. If you show up next week, same thing's going to happen to you." Punk went to complain to Kane that between the Shield and the New Age Outlaws, Hunter was now hiding behind 5 men. If Hunter had a problem, he should face me himself. Kane said, "Look, they told me to tell you that you can main event WrestleMania because you're going to be in the Royal Rumble." This was apparently news. There was a question about whether CM Punk might be in the Royal Rumble.
Maybe to have a match. Daniel Bryan. Actually, you know what? I was told that the Daniel Bryan-Bray Wyatt match may be off. Because, I don't know if it's because Bryan suffered a concussion, but it was apparently a pretty serious concussion, they think. So, right now it's looking like that match is off the Royal Rumble. So he doesn't have a match or maybe, I don't know. I don't know if maybe they're thinking they're going to put him in the Rumble now or if it's the concussion deal. But I was just told probably no Bray Bryan at the Rumble. So we'll see.
So Punk said, "I don't have a problem being in the Rumble," which I thought was a funny line. Because why would you? But he did have a problem with Kane. And they looked mean at each other.
So this person here says Rey was with WCW 96 to 2001. So he's been in WWE much longer.
Much longer. Wow.
Although Kurt Angle has been in TNA longer than he was with WWE.
That I knew.
That's still mind-boggling.
He's accomplished less.
I'll say.
Yeah. Cole, they go to the announce desk, and Cole says, earlier tonight the Usos had a match, and they're going to have another match soon, and we caught up with them backstage a few minutes ago. As he said those words, they threw to a very heavily edited video package. And the gimmick was one Uso would say something in Samoan, and the other Uso would repeat it in English, and then they'd have them both talking with a line in the middle of the screen and half of one guy's face on one side and half of the other guy's face on the other side.
It's like they're brothers.
It was actually pretty clever.
So Royal Rumble opener was apparently Road Dogg Big Boss Man in 1999, so I don't know where the other story came from. Someone perhaps can confirm, third source. And Kurt Angle has actually been in, Ray has been in WWE over twice as long as he's been in WCW.
Answers that question.
Sure does. Where did you get that anyway? Just seem that way?
It just seems that way. I don't know why. Usos versus Bryan and Wyatt in a cage match. They did announce that Cena's dad had a fractured orbital socket.
That sucks.
It does suck.
See? One punch, Vinny.
Well,
remember when my orbital bone got broken by Apostle Paul?
To ask Zeb what happened to his face?
Well, apparently he was fine.
Maybe he had 2 broken orbital sockets.
Maybe he got punched in the forehead and he's all right. Maybe he broke Big Show's fist with his skull. All I know is I got one cartwheel to the face, elbow. Yeah, I broke my orbital bone. It's dangerous, Vinny. It's dangerous.
So they had all 4 dudes enter the cage, and then Kane came out and locked the door. Then actually was never seen again. Which does lead credence to the theory, why did they bother going through all this if he had nothing to do with it? So Kane locked the door, then left. And as he locked the door, Cole says, "This will prevent interference from Rowan and Harper." And JBL, channeling me, said that is the purpose of the cage.
Although, they could have just climbed over.
Well, they tried at the end. They were too clumsy. So, nobody cared about this match. Nobody cared about most of the matches in the show. And they're doing stuff, and it's all 4 guys in the ring at the same time. It's kind of a mess. And out of nowhere, suddenly, there was a "This is awesome" chant. It boggled my mind, because it wasn't like anything particularly great had happened. And it's not like the crowd built to this.
No, the crowd did not care one bit until all of a sudden they decided that this very average match at this point was awesome.
Yes, they flipped a switch, and after hours of silence, the people decided it was awesome.
I'm trying to figure out where Bryan got the concussion here.
So they brawled up to the top of the cage, and Bryan got knocked off. He got knocked into Bray. Bray crushed himself on the top rope, and then Bryan and Bray both tumbled to the mat. So now the Usos are up on top of the cage, and they're trying to climb down, but Rowan and Harper are blocking their way. So one Uso hits a dive onto Rowan, which puts him on the floor, so he's out of the cage. And then Harper went over to attack that Uso, which let the other Uso just climb down. Good thing for him. So the Usos won. Now, Bryan and Bray are still in the cage. Usos just left. Harper and Rowan are on the floor. Cage door is still locked. So the Wyatts lost, so Bray is upset. And started shouting at Bryan. He whispered in Bryan's ear. Fans were chanting yes. And Bray ordered Bryan to get down on his hands and knees and take Sister Abigail for the second time. And he goes to do the move. And as he goes to hit it, Bryan just pushes him away. And what happened was amazing. Because this crowd, it felt like they had been holding their breath for 3 hours for this exact moment to scream as loudly as possible. This reaction was ape shit.
Oh, yeah.
They were losing their goddamn minds for this. So, Bray dared Bryan to attack him. Bryan did not. Then Bray charged, and Bryan dodged and lit into him. The place was just pissing themselves with glee and joy. Chance of yes, chance of Daniel Bryan. The Giants were trying to climb in the cage, but Bryan threw Wyatt into the cage, and the Giants fell to the floor. He stripped off the jumpsuit, revealing his red gear. He went back to the corner and had the whole place synchronized, chanting yes. And he came flying out of the corner with a knee strike, and he climbed the cage and celebrated with them. And I thought this show, especially the last 2 hours, the first hour was all right, but this show went forever to me. But the last 3 minutes of this, I'll remember this for a long time. This was special.
Yeah, apparently, like, Bryan didn't even remember the cage match. So keep in mind that whenever he got the concussion, he did his entire closing segment there.
Yeah.
All of those spots, his timing, everything. Not knowing having any idea what was going on.
I had actually something like that. Not so much the loud ovation, but I had a match once. It was...
You're telling me you never got an ovation like this, Vinny?
No, it's true.
Come on.
It's true. Remember Tadger?
Oh, yeah. Half tiger, half badger?
Half badger. We had a match, and he did a crossbody to start his comeback. And on his crossbody, he landed on my head, which then landed on the mat. And the next thing I remember, we were through the curtain at the end, and I had no memory of the 3 or 4 minutes in between, but I didn't screw anything up.
It's pretty impressive.
It's weird.
Normally, you screwed stuff up when you were unconcussed.
I should have gotten more concussions. I've been a better wrestler. So yeah, that was Raw.
How about that? Yeah, that was Raw, everybody. An amazing closing segment. It's all anybody's talking about was the reaction for Daniel Bryan there. I guess we'll see what they do with the guy. I think it was Bix. That means Raw.
Oh, Raw. Yeah. So Monday Night Raw. It opened with the...
Just did a Dixie Carter eye roll.
I wrote a lot of words about this show. Had a very nice video tribute for Martin Luther King Day. Then Hunter and Steph were in the ring plugging the Rumble. And Hunter said it was time to welcome back someone who will be competing in the Rumble. Everyone cheered. They have been advertising Big Day for weeks. And Hunter acknowledged this man had been a foe and a friend. And before he could get any farther, Randy Orton interrupted. He was pissed at them, but they were even more pissed at him. Stephanie explained that because of the network, there were more eyeballs on the company than ever. Ha! Hearty laugh. So under all that scrutiny, Orton had snapped and had attacked Daddy Cena. And this attack was so heinous, so vile, that they showed it again on the video screen. She threatened to fire him. He said, no, this is your fault for booking me in a pointless match with Kofi, and it's your fault for bringing back Brock Lesnar and Batista. He said he wouldn't change a thing he had done. Hunter said, look, you're the champion because we believe in you, but you seem to have lost faith in yourself. You're making bad decisions.
Blah, 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 blah.
What I got out of this, by the way, and based on one of the comment threads, I think you and Dave may have talked about this.
I ranted about this for...
Well, the talking too, but is Randy Orton getting taller?
Oh, yeah, Dave. Well, here's what was revealed in the thread, that Big Dave Batista, he usually wears lifts in his boots. That's why Randy Orton looks so tall compared to him now.
Yeah, but Orton looks taller than everyone these days. Didn't he used to be eye to eye with Hunter? Now he's like 3 inches taller.
Maybe Hunter wore lifts.
Maybe he did.
Maybe Hunter is shrinking. Maybe Randy Orton has been doing yoga and lengthening his spine.
Could be. What do you, what's the word for that wacky board where you hang upside down? Inversion board? Maybe doing that, yeah. That's far more interesting than anything they had to say.
Or maybe a lot of people wear lifts and were in dress shoes this evening.
Yeah. While we're on the subject, somebody posted a JBL's football card from the World League of American Football. He was listed as 6'5".
Oh, yeah, he's gigantic.
I thought he was much taller than that.
Yeah.
Well, they lie, Vinny.
Clearly. Maybe I'm 6'11" in their company.
You would be.
Yeah.
By the way, who's the heel and who's the babyface with this whole...
Don't even get me started on this bullshit.
I have no idea what's going on.
Well, you ain't the only one.
Okay.
No. And I don't care, more importantly.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Because of this, you don't care. I don't care about Randy Orton.
Right.
I don't care about the title. I don't care about any of this. Because he comes back and he's dressed down by management every week and treated like a geek.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're talking about Orton, and because he was naughty and beat up an old man, they put a camera on the entrance to the arena so that everyone would know when John Cena arrived. And when John Cena arrived, Hunter ordered Orton to make
he's
things
late.
right. Oh, we'll get to that.
By the way, somebody beats up my old man. I'm not late. In fact, I'm early, and in the shadows with a tire iron.
Well, you ain't John Cena, Craig.
Okay.
You're not showing hustle, loyalty, and respect. hustle, I guess. You'd be there early.
Sure.
So Orton was pondering this message. Finally, Batista's music hit. People liked him. And then Dave came out in one of Big Dave's all-time great outfits. Newly shaved head, fancy-ass sunglasses, zip-up collared white sweatshirt with no shirt underneath, and the tightest jeans you ever saw a man wear.
Skinny jeans on a 45-year-old man.
On a 45-year-old man with enormous thighs.
Yep.
Big Dave in tight jeans. I don't want to know what these tight jeans are doing to Little Dave. But he came out there.
Compression.
Grand entrance.
Inversion?
May have been inversion.
Don't look at me like that, Craig.
Split the boys up.
I need my webcam.
Yeah. So he spent many minutes doing his entrance and posing in all the corners, and everyone loved him. And finally, Hunter greeted him warmly, passed him a mic, and he and Steph left. Orton and Dave had a stare down. Orton offered a handshake. Dave just said, "Hello, Randy." I left. Dave can make everything great. It's true. And then Dave got right to the point. He is back to win the Royal Rumble, headline WrestleMania, win the championship from Orton or John Cena or whoever else happened to be wearing it, and then be the champion again.
Great.
And then he left. So the last note here is 2014. And the active wrestlers mentioned in this segment were, in fact, Randy Orton, John Cena, Dave Batista, and Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
It's Louisville in 2000 all over again.
Should have mentioned that to Cornette. I've been paying attention.
Best draft class of all time.
Lance here notes that the last time I saw Orton in person, I thought he was way taller than I remembered. So maybe he is growing.
Interesting.
You know, it's funny, though. I went to, when I remember, I can't remember what year it was, but I had to go to the doctor to get my physical for my wrestling license. And I'd grown 1.5 inches, and I was in my late 20s.
That's
it happens.
bizarre.
It happens. You know what, though? I heard that, and I was deadlifting at the time, that if you do deadlifts, you can build up all of the muscle in between your spine, and you can actually give yourself an extra inch or so.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd only work on the spine. Sorry.
All right.
Where's the sound effect?
I don't know. I'm not sure where he was going with that one.
Man, if only I'd been on the
There it is.
On the ball?
yeah.
No. Oh, wait.
Thank you. I'll be here for about another 15.
Where have those been?
From the figure four.
Hey.
Damn it! I still haven't figured out my new drop board yet. The drop board is back.
Yay! You gotta get Austin's belly laugh.
I couldn't find that one. If anyone can find it, let me know. I've also got this one for your typical Bryan and Vinny show.
Sounds more like the Todd show, actually.
It's a random explosion.
What's that?
Talk about?
That's the fail buzzer.
I see.
Hi.
And I got my succeed ding. This will be good on the Granny show.
Sure.
And finally, the fail trombone.
See, that's the one you should have played.
I'll keep them in mind.
All right.
Many, many years ago, I was watching WCW, and Doom was cutting a promo. They still have their masks on, and that was just neither here nor there. But they were doing a lot of green screen stuff, and usually they just put like a graphic behind the guy. But they started their promo, and about 2 seconds in, they got as far as like Steiners, and then the next thing you know, they are interrupted by an enormous mushroom cloud behind them. And they turn and they look, and they watch this huge fireball of atomic death, and about 5 seconds goes by, and finally they say, "That ain't bad, but Steiners, when we get our hands on you," it was awesome. Big E Langston and the Rhodes brothers fought the Shield. The Rhodes will now be fighting the New Age Outlaws on the Rumble pre-show. And by the way, after that barn burner they had on SmackDown, man, that's going to get me to tune in. Maybe
Especially when it could be a title change.
Maybe Vicky will come out again. Rollins is still wrestling in long sleeves. JBL, the last man in this company who cares about logic, said Orton was not in jail because Daddy Cena had declined to press charges. No one else even bothered to bring this up. So Big E got a hot tag, ran wild, looked great. There was the best spot ever in this match where Cody tried his disaster kick and Reigns hit the Superman punch in midair. Mm-hmm. And I freaked out and JBL freaked out. And I thought at first, man, I thought that was really great. And then they showed about a dozen replays of this. So everyone knew this was really great. And they wrestled around for a while, and eventually Rollins pinned Big E with the curb stomp.
Yeah.
Well, that makes no sense.
Tell me about it.
Don't know why Big E is losing. Don't know why Seth is the one to pin him.
Well, I thought, they may be setting up that ICUS title match.
Yeah, but that's Dean.
I know. That's why he would be losing.
Right.
But he's losing to the wrong guy.
Right. And or the other alternative is they're pushing Roman Reigns to the moon. But he couldn't get the pin either.
But why wouldn't he pin him?
I don't know. It was Seth. Nothing against Seth. It's just weird.
That Roman Reigns is phenomenal. Every time I see him work, he's got the look. He's got the in-ring. He's going to be something real special.
Yeah.
Where's my applause?
Hit it.
There's the succeed ding.
Thank you.
Do the succeed one. There we go. Yeah. Daniel Bryan came out for a promo. Were you just going to hit that whatever I said?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure it was me and not Daniel.
It was you.
All right. So they did not show his full entrance on TV, but they had plenty of shots of the crowd chanting yes in unison. And he joked about people who said he should not be the face of the company. Then he admitted that joining the Wyatts had been part of a secret plan.
I knew it.
He said to take down...
I've been talking about this for years.
It was so secret he talked about other men.
It's going to lead to a Shawn Michaels match at Mania. Just you watch.
So he explained that to take down a man with a...
I interviewed Shawn
Messiah.
Michaels. You guys are aware of that, right?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
At the network thing.
Right?
Okay.
I should have fucking asked that question.
Tell us about the secret plan.
God damn it. Too late now.
Maybe next time they launch a network.
Maybe next time they launch a network, I'm going to ask Sean if there had been a secret plan all along. I want to get it confirmed on tape. Go on.
So he said to take down a man with a Messiah complex, you couldn't just beat him physically, you had to beat him mentally. Had to do a lot of things he was not proud of. But he was waiting for the right moment, and that moment came when he was locked in a cage one-on-one with Bray Wyatt. I thought to myself, what happened when you were locked in the cage with you and Bray Wyatt and the Usos? Why did you have to fight them first? Why couldn't you just say, hey guys, it's a trap. I'm going to beat him up. You're going to stand over there. We don't have to fight each other. So he explained that Rowan and Harper will be in the Rumble match, and that means Bray Wyatt was not in the Rumble match. And because of that, he was challenging Bray Wyatt to a singles match at the Rumble. This means Daniel Bryan won't be in the Royal Rumble. That's stupid.
Why is this shocking everybody? This has been common knowledge for a while now.
First time I knew it.
Just assumed that he was going to be in the Rumble.
Usually they take their big stars and put them in the Rumble.
Sure.
Daniel Bryan is not going to be in the Royal Rumble.
By the way, did you see the picture that Justin Roberts tweeted out? Him and Jimmy Wang Yang?
No.
You were talking the other day with Dave.
Jimmy could be in the Rumble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jimmy could be in the Rumble and not Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
that's fair.
He's buddies with Big Dave.
Oh, is he?
That's how he ended up there, yeah.
No, nothing wrong with that. So Bray Wyatt appeared on the screen, and he called Bryan a traitor and a coward who had flown back into his cage. He said, you should go home and hug your mother because everything that happens to you now will be your own fault. Fandango beat Xavier Woods in a minute with the top rope leg drop. Even Steven booking. Did nothing for anyone. Truth, somewhere in here, managed to be on commentary and plug a match with Damian Sandow on main event. Good luck with that.
In 2 minutes, they got in this match, Truth on commentary, and also Emma.
Emma was also in the crowd doing her dance.
In 2 minutes.
With entrances, maybe.
Ridiculous.
This match would not go 2 minutes.
No.
The match went 1 minute.
Did no favors for Xavier, I'll tell you that.
Or Fandango.
True.
Or me. Brad Maddox and Kane had a meeting backstage. Maddox took credit for Batista's return.
Sure.
All right. Like, apparently he walked up to Hunter and said, hey, you know who'd be great again? Big Dave. Stephanie walked in, asked Brad to leave, and then chewed out Kane.
Again? For what?
Beating up a guy who had insulted him.
Yep.
And picked a fight. She said that due to his contract, he was not allowed to put his hands on a superstar. He said he understood and that he was sorry. Steph said, that's good. You need to go apologize to Punk. Kane was outraged. But he realized he was not going to win this argument, and he walked out. And I will say, Kane is one of the better actors on the show.
I like Kane.
So, speaking of Kane, he came out to the ring in his suit to Kane's entrance and music and red lights.
Yes.
That made me laugh. So he called out Punk in a completely unenthusiastic manner. Punk came out, and Kane quite insincerely said that he had done the wrong thing, and he apologized. Punk said he couldn't hear him, asked him to say it again. So Kane did. And the crowd was chanting one more time, and Punk said, no, that's okay. And then he attacked Kane and knocked him out of the ring.
What a dick.
What a jerk CM Punk turned out to be. So Kane was about to get back in when Maddox appeared. When he said stop, for some reason Kane listened. Maddox then said Punk is going to wrestle one of these men. And out came the New Age Outlaws. They are still getting a babyface pop because their entrance is so great and everyone loves them so much. So Billy did the wrestling while Road Dogg did the commentary, which, if one of them is going to do commentary, it should be Road Dogg.
If one of them should be wrestling, it should be Road Dogg.
It should also be Road Dogg. That's the flaw in this plan, but hey, can't have it all. So the match wasn't much to it. It was fine. Punk kept stopping. He stopped wrestling Billy to beat up Road Dogg repeatedly. Over and over again. Poor Road Dogg.
Smart man.
I'd go after Road Dogg.
Road Dogg took more of a beating here than Billy Gunn did.
Let me work with you more.
Yes. I hadn't thought of it that way. So after all this, Punk cut Billy off and hit him with a go-to-sleep for the win. So one man beat up two, and now I'm supposed to be excited for those two competing for the tag team titles.
I immediately figured they're winning the belts on Sunday.
Probably. But still.
What a terrible idea.
It's sad. It really is sad.
I don't know for sure.
Well,
is it as sad as when one of the Harris brothers had his head fall off?
No, that would be more sad. No one's dying here.
Yes, on the sad scale, that does win.
So then Maddox came out, but before he could do anything, Kane came out, and he declared that CM Punk will be the number one entrant in the Rumble. So we have established that Bryan's not in the match, and now we know Punk's coming out first, so the anticipation of Punk's entrance won't be there. And now we know that he's going to go a long time, and then Kane will screw him, and he's out. So the suspense of this Rumble is quickly going out the window.
So you're booking the Rumble from start to finish, is what you're telling me.
Well, I mean, it's what they're going to do seems very obvious to me.
Vinny, I could say that about 1,000 angles that never pan out. We'll see. But I don't think Punk's going to win.
So they go to the entrance to the building. Now I should describe this more. It's the backstage area where they got big trucks and forklifts and whatever, and a large ramp going outside, and it goes outside and up the hill into the parking lot, and there is the cold night air in January with another polar vortex coming in whatever town they were in.
Freezing.
Just absolutely freezing cold. And walking down this ramp are Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. And they have to walk like 100 yards through the frost and the blistering cold. And Paul Heyman had a long overcoat on and just looked pissed. And they told him, you're going to walk down this ramp, Paul, and we'll film you. And he said, why do I have to do that? It's fucking cold. And so he had to walk all the way up the ramp. Yes.
Wait outside.
Yes.
With a guy with a walkie-talkie until it was time to shoot him walking into the building.
Yes.
Brock was right at home, I'm sure.
Brock's from Minnesota.
Yeah,
this for Brock is life.
This is how he gets to dinner.
He's right. He's probably looking for something to kill. Heyman was miserable. The Royal Rumble numbers video, they actually had two of them this time. They split it up into two. Talked about the total weight of all the men who had competed in the Rumble, which meant we got a fat guy video montage.
Oh, good.
Always fun. And I mean that. It's always fun. They showed Brock Lesnar winning his in 2003 or whatever year that was. He was so young. He looked like an enormous 12-year-old. We had the Mae Young tribute video. They aired this on SmackDown. They put it on the website. It's really great. The one thing I will say, and maybe there's just none of this to be found, I wanted more footage of her as a wrestler. Because
I didn't have a lot of it.
Maybe no one has a lot of it. But for the 8-decade career, pretty much all they had was comedy stuff in this century.
It was still an awesome video.
It's a great video.
I was watching this with Cameron, and my son, he's 7 years old, and he hasn't seen a lot. But they showed Bubba Ray powerbombing May through the table. And after the video was over, my son asked, Daddy, did Bully Ray kill her? Oh, no. And I said, no, son. And I had to explain that
Thank God you're here.
She was 90 and she just, died of old age, but Bubba had nothing to do with it. So he was very concerned that Bully Ray.
I hadn't thought of that. But now that you mention it, as a first-time viewer,
yeah,
you would wonder.
Yeah. He, my wife was giggling and.
Oh,
anyway.
God.
Poor Cameron.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio versus Del Rio in their best of 1 million series. Stop wrestling, you guys. Did a lot of stuff. Crowd took a siesta.
Good report.
Del Rio won with the armbar.
I like this match. I thought it was good.
It wasn't bad.
I thought it was real good, actually.
It's better than Vinny's giving it credit for being. They've only wrestled 3 times.
This week.
This week.
3 times in 8 days.
Well, you got me there.
So Del Rio won. Big Dave came out. Ray vanished. Just turned into mist.
Well, he'd been beaten.
I guess.
Don't you know when a man gets beaten, he vanishes?
Apparently. So Dave hit the ring, beat up Del Rio, hit a spine buster, hit a powerbomb. He did not sit down on this powerbomb because those jeans would have popped for sure.
I just thought he smartened up. Why am I falling on my ass every time I give somebody a power bomb? Just lift him up and slam him.
Yes. He tore off his shirt. I can confirm that Big Dave is still big.
Not as big. Shredded.
He's been up and down. He's been bigger than this, but he's smaller than this too. But regardless, he's no doubt big. And now that I have seen Big Dave get his revenge on Del Rio, I don't need to buy the Rumble to watch them do it. More suspense killed. Big Show came out for a promo, making fun of Paul Heyman's voice. Called out Brock.
Did you think this was funny?
I thought he did a good impersonation.
Seriously?
The crowd liked it.
Craig, of all the bad comedy that we've seen on this program, this was high ranking.
I thought the crowd was dead for this. I didn't. Anyway.
Maybe it's your headphones that don't work, or is that Vinny?
Did you watch headphones when you were watching Raw, or have headphones on when you were watching Raw?
No.
I think it came out. It sounded to me like he was going to do it one time, the Paul Heyman voice, and it sounded to me like the crowd laughed. And he said, "Well, if you're laughing, I'll keep doing it."
Okay.
So Heyman came out. He looked outraged. I'm sure he was still cold. He tried to find the right words for a while, and then he gave up, and he just called out Brock. And he and Brock came down to the ring, and they laughed and left. And then Show called him out again. He double dog dared him to come down to the ring. Didn't use those words, unfortunately. So Brock got in there, and they had a stare down, and Brock made him flinch, and they both laughed. And then Brock tried a double leg, but Show tossed him aside. And they brawled to the corner, and Show grabbed Brock and sent him tumbling ass over tea kettle over the top rope to the apron of the floor. And when this happened live, I thought, oh my God, he killed Brock Lesnar. And I went back and watched it on replay. And Brock was in control the entire time. This is exactly what he meant to do. He went upside down, grabbed the ropes, put his feet on the apron just for a second, and then basically jumped down the floor and rolled to his back. He was totally safe, totally in control. This man's athleticism is unreal at his size.
We have someone here saying that Craig is right. The Heyman impression sucked and no one laughed. Happens to be stern, humorless Landstorm. So this does not count.
I'm going to block him. All right. Stern, humorless Landstorm. So,
see here, Steven says, I laughed. That's a funny guy.
Steven.
Hey, what's
I
up,
don't know.
Steve?
I'm not saying Steven's not a funny guy.
Yeah, Steven's a barrel of laughs.
I'll tell you what.
So Brock went crazy, and he threw the announce desk around. He beat up a chair, and he he tried to ambush Show a few times, but Show always saw him coming. And finally, Heyman and Brock got frustrated and left. And they were doing everything they can to convince people Show is going to win here and that Brock is beatable, which is funny because since Brock has come back, he has lost many times, at least twice.
Maybe this could be Lance's entrance music for his show. Fades out at the end.
All right.
It's funny when you make yourself laugh.
I'm howling over here. I'm dying.
When I don't do this anymore, obviously, but for like a year that we did the show, we would do the show, and then I would immediately go home and listen to it, and I would laugh at my own jokes.
Then what happened?
Because if you can't laugh at yourself.
Then I got tired of myself.
Well, it's about the same time I did.
The appeal of me wore off on me.
It is funny sometimes when I listen to some of the I don't go back and listen to all the shows, but at the end of the year when they put together the best of, I don't listen to the whole goddamn thing, but sometimes I listen to some of it, and I'm entertained.
Sure.
I entertain myself sometimes. Usually I'm laughing at Granny, though.
AJ and Tamina wrestled the Funkadactyls. There was a skit where AJ had a party to celebrate her record-breaking reign. Bad News Barrett arrived and had some bad news. Nobody liked her. She screamed. Bridget was in the next room asking, is someone going into labor? She tried to throw a cake at Josh Matthews, but Josh dodged, and Tamina ate the cake. Not ate the cake, but
wouldn't be so bad.
There's worse things in life. So, yeah, Tamina, the Funkadactyls are wrestling AJ and Tamina. JBL noted that Xavier Woods has stolen Brodus' character. He should have stolen Cena's or Orton's. And then I had the vision in my head of Xavier Woods doing John Cena's entrance. And that would be awesome. There was no mention here of Naomi's wedding.
You got to wait for Total Divas.
I guess so. So, she eventually pinned AJ with a small package.
The seamstress who prepared their outfits, the Funkadactyls I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Where have you been, homie? They've had these outfits for
I know,
a
but
year.
every time I see that
Didn't you watch the show where a cookie was hanging out?
I missed that.
It was on Total Divas.
It was on Total Divas.
They had to blur out her cookie.
Yeah.
I see.
They showed her making the outfit. And her looking at how it did not cover her cookie.
We're not making this up.
Maybe that's a show you need to watch, Craig.
I don't think so. I know.
Did I send you the picture that I took of...
No, you didn't, actually. It's on its way, folks.
What's funny is about 8 million people have asked for the picture since I started talking about it here on the show. It's on my Twitter. I tweeted it out to the world. Twice, in fact.
I'm going to do something you always scold Vinny for doing.
Reading your tweet on the air?
Right.
I think it's funny when we do that personally. Speaking of tweets, Jeremy the MVP says, how do we know Brock didn't find something to kill? When was the last time you saw Zack Ryder? It's a great point.
It has been a while.
It's been a while. The second
I guess
Royal
it's
Rumble,
not up on my Twitter.
Royal Rumble by the numbers video.
Damn it.
Well, I'm wasting my time here.
They mentioned that Shawn has the record of 39 total eliminations, and Kane is second with 37. So if he can get in there, maybe he can break the record. We had a long and great music video tribute for Martin Luther King. I am amazed at two things. One, this company has never won any awards for video production. They're amazing. And two, one of Vince McMahon's heroes in life is a man who dedicated his entire existence to nonviolence.
Yeah.
There's irony there. Usos versus the Wyatts. Okay, this was awesome.
By the way, remember a few weeks ago when I mentioned that Vince was a Mandela supporter and I had to have people telling me that I was an idiot and I didn't know what I was talking about? Mm-hmm. Well, guess who else was featured in this Martin Luther King Jr. video?
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Well,
thank you.
Did you notice other people in this video?
Well, sure.
Barack Obama. I don't. You have told me Vince is not a fan.
Well, I don't know if he is now, but he certainly wasn't around the time of the last election.
Right. So, Usos and Wyatts was awesome because these four dudes took it upon themselves and said, hey, let's get in there and let's just have a fight. And so they just stiffed the hell out of each other. And the announcers noticed it, and it came off. You know, we watched, as we usually say, we watched 5 to 8 hours of this company every week, and 90% of the stuff is fine. This was different. This is a very non-WWE match. So, as they're fighting, Bray cut a promo, said this is the kind of punishment that awaited Bryan at the Rumble. Then the Usos made a comeback, and Bryan ran down and attacked Bray. That distracted Luke Harper, and the Usos pinned him because there must be a distraction in every match. And then Bryan and the Usos all chanted yes with the crowd.
I love the Usos. They're so good.
They're really great.
I look forward to watching them every week. They are absolutely tremendous in the ring. Their entrance has finally grown on me. These guys
Grown on you?
Yeah, I didn't like it at first.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I really didn't like it at first, and then I don't know. Maybe it's because they added in the music later on. You know,
there was a time when they first started doing the war chant,
right?
And first they did it a cappella. Then they added music, but it wasn't the music for the chant. And so the Usos were doing and it's a legitimate thing. So they were doing their chant, but it didn't fit the rhythm of the music at all.
Right.
That was awful. And then finally somebody sat down one day and said, let's do a song that fits this beat. Yeah. So anyway, main event time. Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. It was better than their last match.
Because it was shorter.
It was shorter and less sucky.
All right, I've tweeted out the Funkadactyl picks for everybody. If you go to the hashtag F4W Live Twitter.
So, are you done?
I hear the mad scramble. Go on.
Orton was beating him up and taunting everyone with Cena's hand gestures. And then, exactly 2 hours and 59 minutes into the 3-hour show, John Cena arrived. Like Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, he walked down the ramp in the bitter freezing cold. Did no one drive to this building? Did they take the bus and have to walk through the parking lot to get there?
I don't know what happened, but it was wacky. I theorized that he was running from the house show the night before. That's why he was late. What's that face for, Craig?
I just pulled up the picture on Twitter.
Telling you, everybody.
It is distracting, isn't it?
Sweet baby Jesus.
Hashtag F4W Live.
Mark Henry is looking at her like a piece of cake.
He's LOLing. You notice how they have him in the cast?
Yeah.
Because he had his arm broken?
Oh, yeah. I got you.
What a professional.
I didn't notice that. I was too busy looking at Naomi. Yeah, Mr. Uso, who just married her. Well done.
Good on you, brother.
Yeah. So, John Cena arrived. Craig, you mentioned that if someone had beat up your old man, your response would be to arrive at the building and hide in the shadows of the tire iron and wait for a chance to get your give him his comeuppance.
Absolutely.
John Cena's response was to get a new T-shirt.
It was Seahawks colors. Did you notice?
It was neon green.
And blue.
Was there blue?
Absolutely.
All right. So he walked out there, and Orton tried to flee, but Kofi cut him off, and then things got shitty. First of all, I didn't notice this, but apparently even the patty cake between Orton and Kofi on the floor was horrible. But John Cena and Orton started to brawl in the crowd. They had the worst brawl I've ever seen. Cena's throwing these terrible fake punches, and Orton would stop and stand there and wait for Cena to throw a punch, and Cena punched him one time, and Orton would sell it by turning and strolling away. And they went up the stairs, and Cena threw a punch. And they went across a row, and Cena threw a punch. And they went up the stairs again, and Cena threw a punch. And they went through a skybox, and out the door, and through the crowd, and outside. And Orton climbed into the passenger seat of a car, and the car then drove away at a leisurely pace.
Mm-hmm.
I had, there were, tweets about this earlier, and they said, oh my gosh, Orton just carjacked somebody. No. Taking this from someone who has been carjacked?
That's true.
This is not a carjacking.
That's true. And, you cannot talk about carjackings if you've never been carjacked.
That's right.
Especially in pro wrestling.
That's exactly right.
Vinny has been carjacked.
Yes.
This is not how it happens.
This may have been a hitchhiking. It was certainly not a carjacking.
Maybe it was a cougar,
It may have been.
Ooh, look at that.
Any port in a storm. So that car drives away. And
excuse me.
Cena's reaction to this.
Play the tugboat.
Cena didn't get to beat up the guy who beat up his dad. And so his reaction is to turn back to the building, look at all the fans, and toss his hands in the air as if to say, shucks.
Damn it.
Not even damn it. No.
Didn't even beat up his dad. He busted his dad's orbital bone.
Yes.
It was bad enough that they gave an update on his dad's heart.
The funniest thing was when they brawled up into the skybox, Randy took a fan and threw it at Cena and then slammed the door behind him. And John, infuriated about this man killing his father, looked at the fan and goes, "Are you okay?
All right?" Listen, he's a very caring gentleman.
He likes his fans.
Fans, yes. Without the fans, he wouldn't have the opportunity to beat up the man who beat up his dad.
So
he's got their Sunday.
He was so angry that Orton had gotten in his car and drove away that he stopped to high five a bunch of fans. And he went out in the building, and they played his music. And that was it.
Yep.
They're going to settle this in a wrestling match on Sunday.
Yeah, no stip match.
No stip match. This is awful. And as a TV show, I've seen many 3-hour TV, 3-hour Raws that were worse as television shows than this. But my God, I was interested in the Rumble before the show, and by the end of the show, I was like, I don't care about that at all. Dave's going to win the Rumble. Cena and Orton are going to have a match I've seen a million times before. I don't need to go.
Wow. Well, you know what? You are going.
I know I'm going. I'm pissed.
Vinny, you don't know what's going to happen at the Rumble.
The Rumble's always fun. Come on.
I don't care what you...
All right, so.
Start with the pre-show.
I got here in the middle of the pre-show match, and not even in the middle. Got here at the very end of the pre-show match. Billy Gunn hit Cody Rhodes with a Fameasser and pinned him to win the tag titles. That's what I saw. Greg?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally wasn't paying. The pre-show match.
The show rules.
I apologize. I was
No.
I was looking at Twitter. You've been guilty. It was really a nothing match. The Outlaws won, much to my surprise. I was shocked. There was nothing to it.
So the pay-per-view began with the aforementioned Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. Crowd loved them some Bryan. Harper and Rowan got ejected almost immediately. I'd never noticed this, mainly because I think just because Bray Wyatt wrestles in long white pants, but his boots are awesome. Snakeskin. Very cool. Very cool boots. Bryan worked him over for a while. Bray cut him off with the divorce court on the apron. Worked over the concussion. Kept attacking the head and neck. And it was awesome because every time Bryan would make a comeback, Bray would cut him off with a very basic move, just like a clothesline or a back elbow. He would just hit him really freaking hard when he hit these moves. So he broke out the crab walk. Fans told him that was creepy. And finally, Bryan's going through his whole big comeback. He goes for the headbutt, which is kind of half headbutt, half splash, or as JBL described, quote, "I'm going to jump on you."
That's what it was.
Yes.
What was Bray so close to the corner for?
I don't know. So he went for the knee strike, but Bray rolled outside. So with Bray on the floor, Bryan tried a tope, but Bray caught him, and I mean caught him, and set him down on the ground and hit Sister Abigail into the barricade, and then back in the ring and hit Sister Abigail again for the win. A hell of a match. A great pay-per-view opener. People were a little pissed because Bryan lost, but I'm not going to complain about this match at all. And the Wyatts came back out, but then they just all went backstage together with no further carnage.
Well, again, I mean, the plan for WrestleMania for a long time, and I still cannot even believe this, but it's actually happening. It's Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. And obviously, if Bray Wyatt is going to be facing John Cena at WrestleMania, then he should win this match. And again, the Royal Rumble plan forever had been Big Dave Batista as well. So, I don't know.
By the way, go ahead.
You could always call an audible, but this was no real surprise. This is the direction that they're going. I don't want to say they don't care what you think, but they think they know what's right. And thus, this is the direction they're going, and so this was the right finish.
So of all the things in the world tonight to be trending, Jey Uso.
Sure.
I don't know why he is.
And F4W Live isn't trending. This is ridiculous.
I know.
Although we have shattered our streaming record. I don't even know how many people are listening because the thing broke. So hopefully everybody is still able to get on. But it's killed our map. It's killed my listener. I'm pretty... Anyway, let's go on.
At the beginning of this match, why in the world did Bray send the two flunkies to the back? The ref didn't eject him. Bray sent them back.
I thought the ref ejected them.
No, Bray sent them back.
You sure?
I think the ref ejected them, Craig.
And Bryan was on the floor, and Rowan went over and put his hands on him, and the ref said, "Hey, stop that."
I see.
And the next thing I knew, the Giants were gone.
Getting back to the match, it was a great back-and-forth match. Bryan hit him with a tornado DDT on the floor.
Yeah.
They hit each other really hard, and this match was really great. And go out of your way. I'm just going to say it. The rest of this pay-per-view kind of sucked.
Oh, yeah.
This was this was by far the highlight.
We did not mention this.
Show.
It is confirmed that the ref ejected them, by the way.
Okay.
And Bray told them not to fight it.
I see.
That's from Bix. That's right.
Thanks, Bix.
So there you go.
Renee Young interviewed Paul Heyman backstage. He put Big Show over for a while, but said Brock was ruthless. He was going to take Show down. He was going to go on to be WWE champion, and the company was going to be conquered by Brock the Unmerciful.
What is his shirt, by the way?
Eat, sleep, conquer, repeat.
Okay.
All right.
I got a Gracie Academy shirt for Christmas, and it says eat, sleep, jiu-jitsu, repeat, or something like that.
Huh.
So it's probably where he got it. But
they went up to the experts panel. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair. And they gave them all big introductions. Everyone cheered. They chanted ho, and they went woo. And Shawn said the future of the company was in great hands. He was still putting all his chips on Daniel Bryan. And Flair turned to him and said, "You live on a ranch, and you have got to start riding the right horse."
That's what he said.
Yeah. And then he started talking about what a big, scary man Brock Lesnar was. And he started going woo a lot.
Yeah.
And went on for a while, and Duggan said stuff, and Flair asked what time it was, and this was on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Sean even mentioned, look at this, Jim Duggan outdressing me tonight.
Yes, it's true.
Ric Flair had a little problem earlier this year at the last year, yeah, and he was gone for a while, and now he's back, and he's supposed to be on his best behavior.
Hey, I thought it was great behavior. I thoroughly enjoyed his behavior.
Yeah, I enjoyed his behavior at the thing where Jim Ross got fired as well.
Well,
so they're going to fire Shawn Michaels or Jim Duggan tonight? Josh, maybe?
I don't think any of them will be fired, but I don't know if the company considered Ric Flair to be on his best behavior here. So if you don't see Ric Flair for a while, this could be why. He was nuts.
We had Big Show versus Brock Lesnar. This is the point where the pay-per-view went off a cliff and, to be honest, never really recovered. And I can't believe I'm saying that with a Brock Lesnar match, but it's true. So Brock jumped Show before the bell, hit the double leg takedown, hit a bunch of ground and pound, grabbed a chair, beat him up a lot. Show cursed and got bleeped. In fact, he got bleeped for cursing many, many times, 3 or 4 or 5 times in this segment. So for like 3 minutes, Brock just beat up Big Show with a chair. And then the bell rang and the match started. This is stupid. This makes no sense. They wrestled for like 2 minutes, and Brock hit an F5 out of nowhere and won. Quick aside, Brock Lesnar hitting the Big Show with an F5 will never get old.
Yes, Craig?
This went on forever.
Yeah.
This went on forever.
Well,
the
beating went on forever.
The beating went on forever.
The pre-match went on forever. The match was very brief, and the post-match went on forever.
Right.
And it was just Brock hitting Show with a chair.
I went to the bathroom. I took a stroll around the neighborhood. I took the cats out for a walk and came back, and he was still beating him. It was
Well, let's
bad.
think about this, everybody. It's Brock Lesnar and the Big Show. What do you think you're going to get?
I've seen them have lots of good matches.
That was 10 years ago.
That is true.
So, really, this was the best thing you could have possibly done with these two men.
No.
Yeah.
You could have had Brock win and then go backstage and then do anything else.
Well, I think what they're doing, it's called a storyline. I'm sure the idea is that Brock has killed the Big Show. Mm-hmm. Big Show is going to disappear. Brock will probably be facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Brock will be seemingly on the verge of ending the streak, and the Big Show will come out and completely destroy him, and then Undertaker will win. Clearly, the Big Show is going to return to get his revenge in a big match.
That's all fine. Watching this bored the hell out of me.
Well,
Everybody
he did
else.
beat him for far too long.
After beating him for far too long at the beginning of the match. So this sucked.
truth.
Shield cut a promo backstage.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It was
a
bad.
horrible
I don't
man.
know what you guys
It
are
was
expecting.
boring.
One of these days, let's say that the Big Show comes back and costs Brock the match against The Undertaker. And then at the next pay-per-view, we have a Big Show versus Brock Lesnar match. If they go out there and do a 12-minute wrestling match, you're going to come back to me again, Vinny, like you did last week, and you're going to say, Bryan, I apologize. You were right. What they did at the Royal Rumble was better than this.
No, I can't imagine that.
Oh, you will. Trust me.
Still doesn't just mean this was good. If a 12-minute match is worse, that does not mean this is good.
It wasn't great.
It sucked.
It was all right.
It sucked and was boring. Speaking, well, actually, the Shield promo was fine. Shield cut a promo. They vowed that they'd be the last 3 guys in the Rumble, and then it would really be every man for himself. And then at the end, they would all stand united.
I enjoyed this.
This was a fine promo. Reigns said that he had the winning number, and they started to bicker, and then Rollins made peace, and that was that. Renee interviewed Randy in a promo that's actually fascinating in hindsight. She was going through the top contenders, and Dave's in the Royal Rumble, and Brock Lesnar wants a match, and Bray Wyatt just beat Daniel Bryan, a former champion. He's in line, and Randy started naming all these guys, and he talked about Brock and Bray and Dave and even Punk and Bryan, and he never said anything bad about them. And then he mentioned Bray Wyatt, called him a Duck Dynasty reject, and a deranged hillbilly. Thought of all the people to pick on, he picked Bray. That's fascinating. Cena versus Orton. These entrances took forever, and it's not like they were cool entrances. It's the exact same light show music you see on Raw every single week. By the time this match started, from the end of the Lesnar match to the opening bell for Cena and Orton, at least 20 minutes of nothing had gone by.
Yeah.
This show sucked. I wanted a nap.
The man speaks the truth.
He's in rare form.
So the crowd was as bored as I was. They were chanting for Daniel Bryan. So these guys did their best to have a pro wrestling match, and these fans had zero interest in watching these men have a wrestling match. So they chanted for Bryan. They chanted yes, yes, yes. They chanted we want Daniel. They chanted for Randy Savage. So for the record, Randy Orton, WWE champion, was overshadowed by a man who's been dead for years. Chanted Y2J, Undertaker. None of these men appeared. So clearly these fans were rejecting this match in favor of ideally Daniel Bryan, but really anyone else. And so JBL, and I don't want to speculate where he may have gotten this speech, but JBL...
Vince was telling him everything to say during this match.
JBL began going off about what great physiques these men have.
Yeah.
Because in 2014, Vince McMahon still believes that the driving force in pro wrestling is muscles.
Oh, yeah. I've been talking about this for well over a week now. In fact, I think I quizzed you about this. I know I quizzed a bunch of people about this on various shows. Who is a better promo, CM Punk or John Cena?
You asking me now?
Yeah.
Punk.
CM Punk.
Absolutely.
Who is a better worker, CM Punk or John Cena?
Punk.
CM Punk. Who connects great with the crowd, CM Punk or John Cena? Both of them.
Both, okay. Yes.
So why is John Cena the face of the company? Because he's got big muscles.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
This is not news. You know, I got to say something.
Here he goes.
I just got to say, like...
Shall I get your soapbox?
No, I really would like to see Punk fly to the top. I have nothing against CM Punk, despite what some people might think. But when CM Punk did that interview with Ariel Helwani, and he said, I don't care about my appearance. That's fine. There's a lot of people that don't care about their appearance. In fact, that's great. It's great that you don't care about your appearance.
I'm looking at one right now.
Except when you want to be at the very top of WWE. When you want to be the top guy. If you don't care about your appearance and you don't care if you're third from the top, then that's fine. But if you're upset that you're not at the tippy top and you don't care about your appearance, then what do you think is going to happen in WWE? Now, if a normal person was running WWE, where it was all about who is getting the most popular with the fans, let's just push them, let's just try, then maybe you can just go with anybody. But you know how it works. You know the score. You know who's in charge. You know who's running the ship. He cares about what you look like. And everyone quit calling! He knows what you look like. This is not just Punk. This goes for everybody. This goes for everybody. Vince McMahon is a body guy. He is a looks guy. That's why this match was Randy Orton versus John Cena. Now, guess what? Maybe Vince McMahon is the only guy in the world who cares. But guess what? He cares! So, yes, I'm looking at a crowd completely hijack this match. And listen, I'm not even defending this match. Who the fuck could possibly care about Randy Orton versus John Cena in 2014? I'm about to have a heart attack here. I feel like Flair. Somebody go get me a drink. 2014, I'm watching Randy fucking Orton and John fucking Cena for the fucking 8 fucking millionth time. I'm sick of it! Everybody is! But guess what? Vince McMahon likes good-looking dudes with jacked physiques. And so that's what you're going to get. It's sad. It sucks. But you know what? All I can do is encourage all of you out there in F4W Radio Land, the next time you go to a show, to just hijack the show again. Because that's your best chance. Bix is telling me to drop an elbow on my jacket. That's next. It's coming up next.
You own a jacket?
You're lucky the cats aren't in here. But yes, all you can do is go to these events and yell and scream and hijack the show. Because you know what? You know who wasn't Vince's guy and never would have ever possibly been Vince's guy was Eddie Guerrero. But you, the listeners, got Eddie Guerrero the championship. You did. Because Vince was not going to put the title on that guy. But you changed his mind. So if you keep doing what you're doing here on this show here tonight, and you hijack all of their shows, the day's going to come when they do something with him. So just keep trying. Just keep trying. Because at the end of the day, Vince will listen if it gets completely out of control. And this show was close to getting completely out of control. Because this just wasn't just one show now. It's been a few shows. So the best you can do is keep it up. But yeah, they didn't care at all about this match.
So there were more chants.
Go for it.
You both suck. End this match. This is awful. And my favorite, we want divas.
We want divas.
Actually, my favorite chant was when they locked up. Randy took him over with a head and arm. And the crowd started chanting literally 20 seconds into the match. Boring.
Boring.
Yeah. 20 seconds in.
Immediately.
Yep.
And why wouldn't they? Somebody sent me audio. I don't have it here. But it was from some match like 3 years ago where all they talked about in the commentary was this is the last time you'd ever see these guys wrestle.
Yes.
Hello?
And then they just ignored it.
Here it is again. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. So
I actually, believe it or not, I liked the match.
the guys worked really hard.
I actually liked the match by the end.
By the end, the crowd that really, really wanted to hate it couldn't help but enjoy themselves a little bit. They started hitting each other's finishers. And Cena put on the STF when suddenly the Wyatts appeared. And Lawler screamed, "Why?" That's a very poor imitation. So Cena went after them. He turned around. He ate an RKO. Randy Orton won. I could have sworn that when Stephanie McMahon came out and announced this match on Raw a few weeks back, she said there would be no interference. Did she not say this?
Right. But
they're heels.
They didn't actually interfere to cost him the match. They just ran they ran distraction. They didn't interfere.
Shut up, Craig.
I'm just saying. You complain all the time about distraction finishes. We got another one tonight.
This is stupid.
Absolutely.
Stupid company. The guys worked really hard and the match was not bad. But, oh, God. Renee interviewed the new Age Outlaws. Oh, Wyatt's beat up Cena, everybody.
This was a major angle leading to WrestleMania,
Oh, sure.
and Vince is completely sick of it.
Renee interviewed the new Age Outlaws.
At least it's a new John Cena match you've never seen.
That's true.
Sure. That's true. I was wondering how they were going to get there. And
Bray Wyatt
Here we
looked
are.
great, although he was facing Daniel Bryan, so let's not get too excited.
Yeah. Road Dogg pointed out they had gone 14 years between title reigns, which was a new company record. And he said they had a victory party planned, and Renee was not invited. And
That's not very nice.
I would have invited her.
She'd be invited to any of my victory parties.
really, we had a bunch of promos with everyone saying, you know, here's why I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And the very first man to speak was The Miz. Ha! I just laughed and laughed. So, this turned out to be actually prescient. Everyone in the Usos was talking about, oh, we're brothers, we got face paint, we're going to win, and whatever. And he gets to Batista, and he's standing there with no shirt, and he looks down at his pecs, and he looks at his abs, he looks at his biceps, and looks at the camera and says, exactly. And guess what? That's what happened. It went back to the experts panel. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I don't know how closely, what kind of attention he pays to the product these days, but his pick to win the Royal Rumble was Dolph Ziggler. Sean went with CM Punk or The Shield, any one of the four he thought he would get credit for. And then they went to Ric Flair.
It was worse.
Oh, no, it was better.
Well, whichever way you want to look at it.
All I can say is that he was in full Ric Flair mode, and he was passionately endorsing Batista.
I love Ric Flair. I thought Ric Flair was very entertaining.
I thought he was the best thing on the show.
But unfortunately, this is not what they find entertaining. This is trouble.
I disagree.
Worth it. It's worth it. So it's time for the Royal Rumble. Do we need to do all 30 guys in order?
Yes.
All right. We'll go through it guy by guy. CM Punk, of course, was 1. Seth Rollins was number 2. He has some very wacky screams.
I hope your play-by-play increases in quality from here.
Nothing happened. They didn't wrestle for 90 seconds. See, Seth had some wacky screams. Damian Sandow came in, Cody Rhodes.
He did have some wacky screams. That is an accurate representation of what occurred when he was in the ring.
Sandow got dumped by Punk, and apparently they stuck around the floor forever, and they never did anything. Kane was number 5. He came out in his slacks and tearing off his shirt, and he went after Punk, and he went for a chokeslam, but he got high kicked and then knocked out of the ring. So poor Kane has been so close to breaking HBK's record for eliminations, and he still can't get it. And then apparently he hit it on the ring for a good hour.
Actually, what he did was he laid at ringside against the dasher boards, I guess, selling. And then it wasn't until JBL actually showed up, which I think was like 23.
A long time later, a good 40 minutes later.
That's when he snuck under.
Interesting.
So I guess he just wanted to, just watch the match for a while.
Well,
I can tell you that there were a lot of people that work at WWE that whatever they were doing, if they weren't needed at the moment, like people that put stuff up or whatever, I mean, they got a lot of people that work there. They all go out into the crowd and watch the Royal Rumble. So Kane was just one of them.
All right. Best moment of the entire night and perhaps my life. Alexander Rusev was number 6.
Vinny shouted.
Vinny was so excited.
I love Alexander Rusev.
You love this man like, now it's a gimmick. I mean, I like Rusev and all, but come on, Vinny.
He's great.
Is he really that great?
Yes. He kept throwing guys over the ropes, and they kept landing on the apron. He, they were talking about how big and scary he was and how impressive what an athlete he was, and he was barely in control, clobbering into men. Swagger was number 7. Zeb Coulter came out with him. No wheelchair. He's all better. Swagger had a showdown with Rusev, and the crowd was chanting USA because they are xenophobic heathens. Kofi Kingston was number 8. He went after Punk. No mention of the fact that they are former tag champions or that they travel together. There's a shot in the corner of, it was in the corner of the screen, but Kofi retreated to the corner, and Rusev stalked him with his Muay Thai stance. It was great. Oh, it was awesome. Jimmy Uso was 9. Goldust was 10. Tragedy struck as 5 men teamed up to eliminate Rusev.
I got to say, obviously Rusev wasn't going further, but when you debut in the Royal Rumble, you should eliminate someone.
I think Bo Dallas did.
You should eliminate
and then
somebody.
He got set back down.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think he should have eliminated at least one person.
Yeah.
He could have eliminated who? Kofi?
Well, they had Kofi. He was there to be the prop for Kofi's spot.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Rusev's out, and they immediately toss Kofi out onto him, and Rusev catches him, carries him over to the barricade, throws some knees, and leaves him there. So now Kofi is on the barricade, and the ring is way yonder.
About 8 feet.
Yeah. And looks around, and everyone, they've shown the replays of him doing the handstand and the pogo stick on the chair thing, and everyone knows he's going to do something special, and he just took a deep breath, got a running start, and hurled himself from the barricade to the apron and got back in.
It was awesome.
It was pretty amazing.
Yes.
There's my drum board!
Indeed.
I was talking about this on Observer Live today with Kofi. Semper Vivi is as brilliant as he can be. Had this crazy idea that Kofi would be doing whatever his wacky feat would be this year, and then someone would be tossed on him and he'd be eliminated. And I thought this was just a terrible idea. My thing is this. Why do people love Brock Lesnar?
He's a big, scary guy.
Because when Brock Lesnar is out there, you believe that anything could like something bad could happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think part of the reason, despite I know it was really long, and that's why you didn't like him beating up the Big Show forever, but there was also that part where you were afraid he may really kill the Big Show. He's hitting him as hard as he can with a chair. He might break his arm. He might cut him open.
I never thought that.
I did. But anyway, Brock Lesnar is great because you're always afraid that something bad will happen. There will be some sort of real-life danger of some sort. You know what I mean? So people know wrestling is phony, so to speak, but they like things about it that are real. And Kofi's physical stunt to get back in the Royal Rumble is real. And it's not like it's so over that people are going to buy the Royal Rumble for it. But it's something you can do every year. When he ran out, what did Craig say? What's he going to do this year? Actually, let me...
Oh, God.
What's he going to do this year? So, it was like, it's exciting for Craig. So you're always watching and you're like, man, what if a fan pushes him off the barricade?
Yeah.
What if he slips and crotches the barricade? What if he runs, but he loses his balance and falls off the barricade? There's a sense of real danger. And believe it or not, he is on something of a streak. So I think that he should just keep doing it. He gets a little older every year. He gets a little slower, a little less limber, and you're just kind of waiting for the day that, oops, damn it. He fucked it up. Isn't that fun? Maybe I'm the only one.
No, that's your point.
I'm waiting for him to get tossed out, and there's a bunch of other bodies, and so he uses them like Indiana Jones, where he uses them like stepstones, all the way back to the ring.
I swear somebody did that.
Maybe.
I think Sean did that once, but there's other ideas.
Yeah.
Keep thinking. Ambrose was number 11. Dolph was number 12. And I joked earlier about Hacksaw maybe not watching the show. Pittsburgh loved Dolph Ziggler.
Got a huge reaction.
He loved Dolph. So, I mean, by this point in the show, the biggest stars were Bryan and then Punk and then Dolph. Honestly. Truth was 13. He got eliminated almost immediately. Followed quickly by the Jimmy Uso. There's all the Shield doing all this. There was a ridiculous spot where Kofi was almost eliminated. He was actually hanging upside down from Swagger's boot. Somehow managed to get the boot off and get back in. Kevin Nash was number 14.
Kevin Nash.
He was not Diesel this year. He was Kevin Nash.
Ziggler got a huge pop, by the way. Did we mention that?
Yes.
He did get a huge reaction. I'm just looking back to make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes.
Yeah, I was reading Twitter earlier, too.
Sorry. That's true. So Nash dumped Swagger.
What's funny about Nash is...
he's old.
Well...
His knees are shot.
So a couple days ago,
great hair, though.
Nash... I don't know if he posted it or if maybe somebody mentioned something and he posted it, but there's a picture of him with his newly dyed hair.
Yes, he said he was getting called in for an audition.
Yeah, he claimed everyone, once he dyed his hair, everyone thought he must be a Rumble surprise. So Nash, I guess to try to convince everyone otherwise, explained that I'm up for a movie role and they wanted to see what I looked like with dark hair. And immediately I was like, you're full of it, homie. Because have you ever tried to dye your hair gray?
No.
Because you can't find gray hair dye. It doesn't exist. So why would they say we want to see what it looks like brown? Because if they don't like it, you're fucked.
That bubble you live in is amazing.
You can't just go dye it gray. Right?
That's your answer to this question.
And when you see Kevin Nash with gray hair, it's like, man, I can't imagine what this guy would look like with brown hair. The only way for me to know is if he dyes it brown.
See, I would have just gone with...
It's ridiculous.
I would have just gone with he could send them one of his dozens of headshots.
Sure.
His hair has been black, blonde, brown, and gray over the years.
Exactly.
And long and short.
Exactly.
And silver when he was Oz.
So very skeptical
Had
of
a mohawk
his
once.
claim. Even more so now when he appeared in the Rumble.
So I was watching this show, and at this point I was thinking, man, there's just too many guys in the ring. And conveniently, right then, out came Roman Reigns.
Craig's crying over there. I don't even know why.
You can't dye your hair gray.
You can't.
You can't, huh?
No. You can't dye your hair gray.
Really?
Okay, you go online and find me where you can dye your hair gray.
Help me, Twitter. My God, seriously.
You can't. Bix here has sent me Just for Men Touch of Gray. That doesn't add gray. That's when you have a full head of white hair and you just want a little gray left. It puts color in and leaves a little gray.
Vince is dying.
You will not find gray hair dye. Oh, because there's so many men. There's so many men that are like, man, if only my hair was gray. I'm going to go buy some gray hair dye. It doesn't exist.
Gray hair dye.
He'll never find it.
Hair color, dark gray.
I'm getting...
Ardell Labs gray magic color.
Yeah, but that's fake. You can't go to a movie with fake gray hair.
What?
When did Roman Reigns come out again? Let's move on.
Swag machine, how to dye your hair gray.
Can we move on with Roman Reigns now?
No, let's talk about this for another
It's
hour.
a blonde woman. She has, what is this? Fanciful. The product on the left is Wella Color Charm in 050.
That's what's happening to the show right now.
The other product is Rue Fanciful Temporary Hair Color in True Steel.
Yeah, temporary. Let's move on.
So Roman Reigns hit the ring, and it's about time to get everyone tossed out. And threw Kofi over the ropes. He Dolph hit him with a DDT, but Reigns shrugged that off and speared him to death and dumped him, and the crowd booed passionately because they loved Dolph. He threw Nash out, which is ugly. And right after Nash got dumped, Great Khali came out as number 16. We were so close to getting Kevin Nash versus the Great Khali.
That's not the biggest tragedy of this, but we'll talk about that later. Bigger even than Daniel Bryan not even being in it.
Yep. So Khali got in there, lumbered around. Shield threw him out. Goldust charged the ropes, and whoever was in the Shield he was aiming at dodged, and Goldust accidentally knocked Cody out.
Oh.
And the Shield turned around and knocked Goldust out too.
You know all that talk about Cody and Goldust at WrestleMania? I mean, that was the idea like a year ago. And they keep having these great matches, and everybody's talking about how it'd be a tragedy if they did this match at WrestleMania. They shouldn't break up. They shouldn't stop teaming. Looks like plans aren't changing this time.
No. So, at this point, it was down to the Shield and Punk alone, but before they could kill Punk, Sheamus came out as number 17. Yes, Sheamus!
What a shocker.
And he made his big return, ran wild. The crowd was happy to see him at this point. He ran wild and everybody, hit the clubber and forearms on Ambrose, tore his shirt up at one point. Dean has abs. He's lean. Didn't get anyone out. Fandango was at 19. Oh, excuse me, Miz was 18. Then Fandango was 19. Everyone in the crowd was fandangoing. Miz nearly threw him out, which would have pissed me off. Nothing happened for a while, so the crowd decided to chant for Daniel Bryan again. You poor bastards. Number 20, all in white, was El Torito.
Yeah.
Came in, ran wild. He is awesome. Did some comedy with Punk, but then Punk ended up beating a head scissors. And then he ended up head scissoring Fandango into the ropes and then drop kicking him out. So yes, Torito eliminated Fandango. And then Reigns promptly eliminated Torito onto Fandango. Cesaro was number 21.
Damn it. That's the tragedy. If they would have waited like 2 minutes, we could have had Cesaro giant swing the bull.
Mm-hmm.
I've been begging for this. Begging for this. Why could you not have him swing the bull in the Royal Rumble? That's what I thought. No good reason.
So he immediately hit Miz with a giant swing. Punk did the dropkick spot. And then Cesaro attacked the Shield. Hit a swing on Rollins. He was still swinging when the buzzer went off for Luke Harper at 22.
Mm-hmm.
Not much happened.
By the way, Craig's son, huge fan of the bull.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Huge pop when the bull came out.
Jey Uso was 23. Antonio Cesaro and Luke Harper had a battle straight out of Chikara. Number 24 was, in fact, John Bradshaw Layfield. And he stood up from the announce desk without saying a word. He took off his cowboy hat. He climbed the steps to get in the ring. Cole said this was the Royal Rumble debut of the JBL character. His exact words.
Sure was.
JBL got in the ring, removed his jacket, called Cole over to come get it, handed his jacket to Cole, turned around and got dumped by Roman Reigns.
All Cole's fault as usual.
Fans booed. JBL stood up, put his jacket back on, sat down, and started talking about Batista. Fans, by the way, chanted, "You still got it."
You still got it.
Yep.
Let me say something about the Torito, the midget, or the, oops, sorry. Is that, he's a midget wrestler.
It's okay when you're talking wrestling.
I've discussed this before. I once read anyway. So, why does your little fella like Torito so much?
Because he's the same size.
Same reason that the Hardys were so over. The same reason that you don't want everybody to look. Hold on, Vinny. Let me continue here.
You know you can't dye your hair gray.
The same reason. Someone on Twitter just said the number of bottles of gray hair dye I'm going to get for Christmas next year is going to be ridiculous. The same reason that the Hardys were over. The same reason that you don't want everyone to look like John Cena and Randy Orton. Because in professional wrestling, there need to be a wide variety of characters because people want to get behind someone who they look at and go, that guy's just like me. That's why little kids like little fellas.
Okay.
That guy's just like me. That's why kids love Rey. Rey's like a little kid in there with the big guys. You know? That's why you should have a little guy and a fat guy and a guy who works out and maybe a guy who looks like an accountant. Now, this doesn't mean these men should be main eventers. It just means there should be somebody that everybody can get behind. Everybody should have one guy on wrestling that they can go, that guy's like me. That's why the Hardys were over, because fans looked at them and they're like, here's two geeks. I shouldn't say geeks, but here's two people like me. They're not too big. They're not too small, even though they actually are very big. But you wouldn't know that in 1998. Here's two skinny guys. You know, they look like they were backyarders. They do a bunch of flips. Man, if I were a wrestler, I'd be one of the Hardys. Same with Lita. You know, that's why they were so popular. That's why Torito and Rey Mysterio and all these guys are so popular with kids. That's why you need a Congo for the guys that are bigger and have face paint. Right? God damn it.
You were doing so well.
I was doing so well. I should have done this one. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. All right, move on, Vinny. I'm done.
Eric Rowan was 25, and he and Harper finally threw the Miz out.
Yay.
Shield and Wyatts had a stare down. Ryback was 26. Fans mistook him for Goldberg. Sheamus and Cesaro traded European uppercuts in the Battle of Ireland versus Switzerland. Del Rio was 27. The ring was getting full again, and most of them were bad guys. Number 28 was Big Dave. Let's talk about Dave's appearance.
Let's.
If you thought Dave had a ridiculous outfit on Monday Night Raw, I can only imagine what you thought about how he looked at the Royal Rumble. Dave was wearing the, not tights, but they're trunks that go to like a little bit, they go below the hip. Not quite mid-thigh, like the kind Billy Gunn wears. That's a strange look for a man with giant legs. And he had, giant thighs.
Okay.
Giant thighs. He had giant knee pads on that went like way above and way below the knee, and then like short shoes.
Shooter shoes.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
And then itty bitty skinny little calves.
The smallest calves I've seen on a large man.
Yeah.
Usually any fat guy in any gym, he's going to have huge calves because he's been carrying around all that extra weight upstairs. Not speaking from any experience at all. But Dave's legs were chicken-like.
Chicken-like?
They were chicken legs. He's got to do something. He's got to get longer boots. I'm thinking something from the...
Thigh high?
Yeah, something from the hooker line.
Well, never mind.
Let's move on.
Dave got in there. He dumped Rowan. He dumped Ryback. Del Rio promptly super kicked him in the head, just as he promised to do. And then he went for the arm bar, but Dave did the Bob Backlund deadlift spot and threw him out too. Big E was 29. He began to throw around Dave Batista and Sheamus, who are enormous men to be throwing around.
Yeah.
Big E is a freak. So there was only one man left, and I don't know if the fans had scorecards or if they had been paying attention to the promos before the match, because Rey Mysterio spoke in that promo, but they forgot about Rey, and they thought 30 was going to be somebody else.
They sure did.
So they were chanting for Daniel Bryan. They were chanting yes, and I knew that Rey was in this, and he was not in yet, and I thought, man, this is going to suck. And I had no idea. So Rey Mysterio came out, and Rey Mysterio got booed. And he ran wild and hit all the spots. Fans were booing. They were chanting for Bryan.
And then they just gave up.
And then they did it. They gave up on the show.
Yep.
They just started booing everyone. And everyone, no matter what they did, was met with just lukewarm boos.
And when Dave first came out, he got boos because there were enough people in the building that knew that he was the guy that was probably going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they found out Daniel Bryan wasn't in, and they realized that, in fact, Daniel Bryan was not going to win the Royal Rumble, and of the guys in there, Batista was the most likely winner, as they had figured, they just didn't care about the match anymore.
So Rey got eliminated. As we noted, people cheered as if it was Rey Mysterio's fault.
Yeah, he booked the Royal Rumble, everybody.
Reigns eliminated Harper. The key spot was Ambrose tried to eliminate Reigns, tried to dump him from behind. But Rollins actually made the save. And as Rollins and Ambrose were bickering, Cesaro came up to brawl with both of them, and then Reigns recovered and dumped all three of them at once. This gave us a final four of Roman Reigns, Dave Batista, CM Punk, and Sheamus. Kane quickly reappeared. He yanked Punk over the ropes and out of the ring to the floor. Jubbs point out this may count as Kane's elimination. He may have tied Shawn here. So,
Reigns set a record.
What's that?
Reigns set the record. I don't know if it was the overall record or just the
said the single match record.
Single match record.
Kane tied Shawn for career eliminations.
I see.
Yes. So yeah, but so now it was Reigns and Batista and Sheamus, and one guy would fire up and the crowd would boo, and the other guy would fire up and they'd boo louder, and then the third guy would fire up and they just boo more. These fans hated the world. They hated Dave. They hated Sheamus. Hated Reigns. Hated you. Hated me. Everyone. They were pissed.
I bet Kane's record doesn't stand. He was eliminated.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah.
So, had a great spot where Sheamus tried a road kick and Dave ducked, and then nothing happened. That was the whole spot.
That's right.
So, Reigns eliminated Sheamus. That was his 12th elimination. That was the record for a single match. And it now came down to Roman Reigns and Batista. And so, the crowd switched gears a little bit here. They didn't want Dave to win.
Yes.
They would have cheered for anyone else.
They did cheer for Roman Reigns.
They chanted Roman Reigns' name. It was the last time they cheered from when Rey came out. They cheered when Rey got eliminated, and they cheered here at the very end when it was down to Reigns and Dave. So Dave fired up and got booed outrageously. Turned around, ate a spear. Everyone cheered, and then Dave reversed the toss and sent Reigns out of the ring to win. And everyone there was this more lukewarm booing and boos and boos and boos and boos and a big pyro celebration, and then just more boos and more boos and more boos. So this show was unforgettable.
That's for sure.
I will never forget the 2014 Royal Rumble. To recap this show in a brief sentence, started out amazing, got horrendously boring, and then unforgettable.
So there you go, everybody. WrestleMania. It is, believe it or not, Randy Orton versus Batista, Bray Wyatt versus John Cena, Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. What other matches am I forgetting? Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus.
Goldust, Cody Rhodes.
Goldust versus Cody, most likely. And I may be forgetting another one here or there.
Maybe a unification match with...
That's right. Biggie Langston and Dean Ambrose, which may be at Elimination Chamber. So, yeah. Which is funny because going in, that was the expected card. Coming out, that was the expected card. And the show where they put it all together, everybody hated. So maybe this card is not the card that at least this audience wanted to see.
Well, maybe they were hoping for something to be changed. Maybe they were hoping for some swerve.
Yeah.
They told you where you were going in the end, and they were hoping maybe they'll come to their senses.
No Sting.
No Sting.
Not yet.
No Hulk Hogan.
Not yet.
No Hulk Hogan yet.
No AJ Styles.
No AJ Styles, although that was not expected. So,
was there ever a plan on the table for Piper and Hogan at
No Jake Roberts.
Piper wanted him and Hogan to have a match.
Okay.
But Hogan cannot have a match.
Right.
So, there you go.
So Ethan Carter's doing some Monday Night Raw. Hunter and Steph came out for a promo. They were happier than you've ever seen these two people. Hunter grabbed his wife and gave her a great big hug, and they walked arm in arm down the ring, and a skip in their step, a jaunty stroll. It was funny anyway, just because you never see him like this, but it was even funnier because they were playing his angry Motorhead theme. So the fans cheered for them because they are superstars, and as soon as they began to speak, there were giant boos and then yes chants. They bragged about the victories of their friends at the Rumble, Orton, Lesnar, and Batista. They announced Orton would be defending his title in the Elimination Chamber match. Hunter was openly mocking the fans, being a fantastic condescending dick.
I have something to say right there. I have a letter here that I've been asked to read to you, the fans. This is from a pretty big star in WWE. I'm obviously not allowed to say his name, but he gave me full permission to read this, and in fact asked me to read this. This was actually Monday, when everybody was in an absolute uproar, but I think people are in less of an uproar today because Daniel Bryan opened and closed the show yesterday, and I think everyone has kind of figured out that at the end of the day, Bryan's going to probably end up with the title for a little while. But when everybody was in a complete uproar, this was sent to me to read to everybody. It says, and I quote, it's not from Michael Cole. Internet is so funny. You all read the sites, so you all should know the plans for Mania. None of those plans have Bryan in a title match, so the internet exploding at the end of the show is beyond laughable. Plus, don't hate on Rey. He did not book himself as number 30. The way most of you are acting, the company should have called an audible and put Brooklyn Brawler as number 30 just to piss you off even more. Over 50,000 WrestleMania tickets have been sold, and a network that will change your life forever is about to launch. So just relax and enjoy the product the company gives you. By the way, didn't you all shit on the WWE for the September through November pay-per-views last year, and you said you were done? But you turned around to watch and buy the Rumble. Pittsburgh, you were an awesome crowd, and it was an honor to be in your building last night.
All right, there you go.
So there you go. And that was, by the way, the reaction from a lot of people in the company, which is where Triple H got his speech that he gave mocking all of the fans for being so upset.
So Bryan did come out. Hunter and Steph were just amused by him. Bryan asked the fans to stop chanting, "You're going to make the Helmsleys mad." He said, win, lose, or draw, after the Rumble, everyone was talking about his match. Hunter, always best condescending prick, said, that was a great little effort you had.
Great little effort.
So Bryan said also everyone was talking about the Rumble and how he was not in it. He begged them to listen to the fans. Or excuse me, he had begged them to listen to the fans and put him in the Rumble, but they had told him no. And they explained they had not wanted to put him in jeopardy, even though many times in the past they had booked him to wrestle twice on one show, or even wrestle us in handicap matches multiple times on a show. He said they did not care about what was best for business. They cared about what was worst for him. Steph asked, do you think you're the only people, you're the only person these people came here to see? And they all said yes. Long story short, this went on for a while. Bryan said, put me in the chamber. And if I don't get what I want, none of us is going to leave. He said, none of us is going to leave until I get what I want. It was a very long segment, everyone. And Hunter said, that sounds like a good idea, but you have company, and out came the Shield. So the Shield come down. Bryan grabs a chair to defend himself. And Seth Rollins is doing the exact same entrance every day for more than a year now. This one time he slipped on his landing and fell on his ass.
Oops.
They overwhelmed Bryan, triple teamed him to death. Sheamus tried to make the save, but there was still only one of him. And then Cena arrived, and now it was a fair fight, and the babyfaces cleaned house. And after the break, they announced a 6-man tag with all 3 members of the winning team going into the chamber.
You know, I forgot what I was going to say.
Rey Mysterio.
What were we talking about? The opening segment?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say.
I went
It
forever.
must have been compelling.
The segment or your speech?
My speech.
Your cats, by the way, are throwing metal around.
I know. I think that's Whitney feeding them. I don't think the cats are throwing the. I was greatly distracted by an extraordinarily loud clanging that
Did
I
you
think
leave
may have
pots
been
and pans in
so
the cat's
loud
room?
that some of you here might have heard it. So there you go. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So for those of you wondering what was changed on Raw, because there were a whole bunch of rewrites in the afternoon, I believe that what was changed was Daniel Bryan was given a promo here at the beginning of the show, which he was not going to get originally. I think originally he was only going to do whatever he did in the main event. And I think they figured that if we bring him out immediately and let you know that he's going to be out during the main event, you will not chant his name and yes all night long and hijack our show. So that was an addition. And they were also going to do what they did on SmackDown. On SmackDown, you had to win a bunch of qualifying matches to get into the chamber. And they switched it here to just one big six-man in the main event where the winning team would just all go into the chamber. So that appears to be most of the changes. Other than that, everything was pretty much as it was originally planned.
Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara wrestled the Real Americans. Very early, they ran wild on Swagger. He bailed out of the ring. And Zeb gave him a browbeating and then hauled off and slapped him across the face. And Swagger was outraged, but he returned to the ring and proceeded to whip ass. He beat up Sin Cara for a while. Rey got the hot tag. Place went nuts. And it came down to Sin Cara and Antonio. And Antonio cut him off with the uppercut and pinned him with a neutralizer. Americans were very happy in victory after the match, but it is something that Swagger got slapped, and in the end, Cesaro is the one who got the job done.
Apparently, they're doing a overbearing coach gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Although I am surprised that they're not slapping around. Well, maybe it was just on this show. Maybe next Raw they'll slap around Cesaro.
Sure,
Cesaro's the one that should be the babyface. Clearly, I think.
Oh God, yes. They cheer for his spot now. Bad News Barrett cut a promo from his scissors lift. He said the bad news was tonight we would have to watch Miz wrestle. Said Miz was going to be battling Dolph in the Battle of Cleveland. He called the fans losers. And it's funny because I watch these shows out of order. So at this point on Raw, I wrote, what in the hell is this gimmick? Seriously. Now SmackDown, which happened first, but I watched second, on that show it made sense. Wade Barrett has low self-esteem, and he takes pot shots at everybody to make himself feel better. He's me.
I gotta say he was me.
Maybe that too.
He's not me. I got nothing but good news. I'm Good News Bryan. Hashtag GNB.
Isn't that, I'm thinking of GHB. That's something else. All right.
That's something much different.
Yes. Fandango wrestled Truth. Xavier Woods was on commentary. He has shaved. That's a vast improvement.
Numerous people now are asking if Batista wrote that letter. Okay, here's what I'm going to say, everybody. Batista did not
The answer
write.
is yes.
No, Batista did not write that letter. But I am now not going to say yes or no for anybody else because I don't need everybody asking and trying to figure it out. But I will tell you that no, it was not Batista that wrote that letter. That probably would have been a good guess.
Xavier Woods shaved. Looks much better. He pointed out someone had stolen his Rumble number and cost him a spot in the match. So apparently, if you have possession of the ping pong ball or whatever they use to draw numbers, as long as you have possession of the number itself, that means you're in. Emma was in the crowd dancing. JBL was quizzing Woods about his PhD plans, and Woods explained he wanted to work with autistic children, and JBL seemed genuinely impressed. No one cared about the match. They did everything they always do, and then Truth avoided a leg drop and won with the pay dirt. Maddox came out to introduce Randy Orton. Orton bragged about beating Cena again. Then he was outraged to learn he would be in a chamber match.
I still love this. I understand it's like he's a heel, but it's now getting funny. This character, this Randy Orton character, who is the undisputed world and WWE heavyweight champions, and he is consistently baffled that he's being put in big matches.
Yes, he has to defend his title.
I've got to fight in the Elimination Chamber?
How can this be?
Who would have ever thought?
So he said he was the face of the company, not Batista, not Brock, and then Batista came out. For Dave Batista's standards, it was a very subdued outfit, but it was still a man in his 40s wearing skinny jeans. Mixed reaction and chance for Bryan. He congratulated Orton on his win, repeated his mission statement to win the Rumble, main event Mania, and win the title, and said it's 2 down, 1 to go. He said he would beat Orton or Cena or The Shield or even Daniel Bryan. Like it or not, he was winning the title at Mania, and nothing could change that. And then Brock Lesnar came out, and with Paul Heyman. Heyman warned Maddox that Lesnar's patience was running thin. The Helmses had 2 choices. Either Brock Lesnar gets a title match against Randy Orton tonight, or he gets a match with Batista for the top contender spot. And he wants an answer tonight or else. And then Brock left.
So my prediction, since we talked about it briefly at the beginning of the show, my prediction is that either Christian or Antonio Cesaro, most likely, gets beaten half to death by Brock Lesnar, and he replaces them in the chamber match, and most likely is eliminated from the chamber as a result of the dong of The Undertaker.
All right.
Which leads to WrestleMania.
So The Undertaker will challenge him.
Sure.
All right. Dolph Ziggler versus Miz in the Battle of Cleveland. Dolph has gone way too long in between hair dyes, and his black roots are coming in. He had a number 69 Cleveland Cavaliers jersey.
I wonder if his hair is breaking off now.
Maybe it is.
And you just kind of bleach it repeatedly. That's what happened to...
For years and years and years.
That's what happened to Chuck Palumbo.
Yeah.
He had to keep bleaching his hair for that gimmick, and it just started to all break and fall off.
Yeah. So Miz came out in a Browns jersey and was also wearing orange and brown gear. Both guys got hometown cheers, and there were chants of Cleveland rocks and Steelers suck. They went back and forth, and Dolph won with a zigzag. It was fine, and the fact that it was 2 guys fighting in front of their hometown crowd made it seem like something different from the thousands of matches I watch every year.
I was very upset that BNB wasn't on his scissor lift doing commentary for this match.
Oh, yeah. That would have made it better. That is true. Usos versus Ryback and Curtis Axel. Nobody cared about this, and it was this whole show was like evidence that, in fact, no one came to see anyone else besides Daniel Bryan, because they didn't care about anyone else. Usos hit Ryback with a pair of super kicks and pin him with a top rope splash. Kofi versus Del Rio. This was something. So I mentioned the crowd didn't care about anything. They didn't care about these two. And about 5 minutes in, they just decided, let's chant for JBL. And they're chanting JBL's name, and he stands to acknowledge them, and then Del Rio went nuts. And he shouted at JBL to sit down. He was pissed off that people were ignoring him. The crowd chanted for Lawler. As they were chanting for Lawler, Kofi and Del Rio were falling off the top rope to the floor.
What the hell do you expect when you put Del Rio and Kofi in the ring for 14 minutes in a dead segment during the 90-minute dead period on Raw? I mean, I understand the guy being mad, and I would have been pissed off at the announcers, too. And I'll bet Big Dave Batista was thrilled, since the idea is Batista and Del Rio at Elimination Chamber. And so Big Dave obviously wants to face somebody who's not a geek. And meanwhile, Del Rio's being made out to be a complete geek by the announcers here, as they're essentially leading the fans in the wave not to care about the guy's match. So this whole thing was a disaster.
It's also, between this and the chance for Daniel Bryan during the Rumble and everything, it's a sign of how everyone on this roster is stale. We see them all over and over again, every week, all year long. It's Kofi and Del Rio and Swagger and Ryback and Axel and Dolph and Miz. We've seen everything they can do.
The bigger issue to me is that they all just beat each other.
And that's the other part of it. It's even Steven booking, so nobody is a star.
Ryback wins on Raw. They lose on SmackDown. Rey wins on Raw. He loses on SmackDown. Del Rio wins on Raw. He loses on SmackDown. I mean, can we push some guys and then other guys just get beat all the time like the old days?
Yeah, you would think so. But it's all just a sign of, it's a bad sign. Now, to these guys' credit, they had a lot of time, they worked really hard, and by the end, people were into it. And they went back and forth, and Del Rio won with the super kick to his kneeling opponent. Very fun TV match. New Age Outlaws versus the Brothers Rhodes. Road Dogg cut a complete babyface promo before the match. He told the Rhodes brothers they were not the champs because they had friends in high places. They were champs because they were the best. And wrestled for a bit. And then as soon as Cody started his comeback, Brock Lesnar arrived. The Outlaws ran for their lives.
Veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes Brock.
Run!
Get the hell out of here.
Actually, he laid them out before.
It's true, actually.
Last year, he did lay them out one time. So they know.
They learned their lesson.
They've learned their lesson. So Goldust and Cody have not learned their lesson. He F5'd both of them. And then Heyman explained that the Helmsleys had not given Brock what he wanted, and so this is going to happen, and he killed Cody and Goldust with chairs.
You know, no one in the entire world probably noticed this except me. But we may have breaking news, by the way. I'll get to that in just a second. But Brock is in the ring, and he's gonna kill Cody and Goldust, right? So he picks up Cody, and he gives him the F5. And the setup for him giving Goldust the F5 is Goldust decided to run and try to punch Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar ducked underneath, hoisted him up, and gave him the big F5. So I just thought that was funny. I just sometimes I see a spot and I imagine in my head, let's imagine if this were real, what's happening right here. Goldust decided, oh no, Brock Lesnar is here. He's angry. He just F5'd my brother. I'm going to punch him. Went wrong.
Don't punch Brock Lesnar if you want to.
Do not run at him to punch him.
If you are Cain Velasquez, you can punch Brock Lesnar. No one else should try it. Bellas and Funkadactyls versus AJ and Tamina and Alicia and Ixana. First of all, Lawler's going off about how great this is, and he says, how often do we get to see 8 divas in one match? And there was a pause, and Nicolda said, often. Which is true. So things are going fine for a while, and I thought to myself, I've talked about how much better the girls in NXT are than the girls on Raw. Maybe they're finally getting better here. And then Ixana tagged in. Never mind. I was wrong. They're still horrible. They beat him Nikki forever. Naomi got a hot tag and ran wild. There was a 3-on-3 suplex where somehow nobody died. Then Naomi pinned AJ with the review. And actually, when Oksana was not in, it was pretty good.
All right, so some news for everybody. Breaking news, actually. So a few people on Twitter have been asking, where the hell is CM Punk? Why was Punk not on Raw? Why was Punk not on SmackDown? I don't think that Punk is in the doghouse. I don't think this has anything to do with Punk, something being wrong with Punk. But there may be a big change in that the WrestleMania match may be being changed to Triple H versus Daniel Bryan as opposed to Triple H versus CM Punk, which is why Bryan was written into a promo on Monday that happened to be a promo with Triple H, where they had words with each other and a stare down, and there has been absolutely zero mention of CM Punk and Kane, their feud, or anything relating to it. So, something to keep an eye on over the next week or so, but Bryan may be getting Punk's match, and Punk will be moved into another match. So, I guess we shall see. But that is literally news from about 2 minutes ago.
Wow. Jake Roberts is going into the Hall of Fame. They aired dozens of brilliant promo clips. Announced Christian will be back on SmackDown.
That's much better than Bryan versus Sheamus, by the way, in my opinion.
For Bryan.
In everyone else's opinion.
Kind of sucks for Punk. Is he going to wrestle Kane?
You could still give Punk a big match.
Against 2.
I don't know how the card will pan out. It's not like Punk doesn't have a big match if he's not facing Triple H. It's just a different twist in the storyline. So we'll see.
All right. kind of talked about that match already. Main event: Cena and Sheamus and Bryan versus The Shield. The bell rang with 20 minutes left in the show, not counting the overrun. So I thought, okay, they'll do a match and then have a big angle. No, they had like a 25-minute 6-man tag, and it was awesome. Cut off Cena for a long time. Actually, it was even before that. First 5 minutes was just Bryan on the apron. They just didn't tag him in until the crowd started to beg for it, and then they brought him in and everyone went crazy. Then they got the heat on Cena, and Bryan made the big comeback, and everyone went crazy again. Reigns started spearing everyone in sight. We got Bryan versus Rollins one-on-one. It was also brilliant. Cena put the STF on Reigns, but Reigns powered out of it when suddenly the Wyatts appeared, and they attacked Cena for the DQ. Sheamus and Bryan came to Cena's aid. They fought off the Wyatts, and the Wyatts were retreated at the top of the ramp, but that was outside interference, which is against the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Shield were disqualified, and that meant they were not in the chamber match.
This actually was a brilliant way to set up the Wyatts and the Shield.
Yeah.
Brilliant way to set it up.
And they were pissed. So it ended with the babyfaces in the ring celebrating, the Shield on the floor throwing a tantrum and throwing shit around, and the Wyatts just kind of meandering around the stage. So, yeah. Sure looks like they're doing Shield versus Wyatts at the chamber.
It is refreshing to see men pissed when they are screwed out of a big opportunity.
Isn't it, though?
Unlike John Cena, who does not care. Although, as noted last night, why should he? The Wyatts screwed him out of his match at the Royal Rumble. They screwed him out of the championship. And then the very next night, they screwed him back into the championship hunt.
I did, didn't they?
Yeah. Oops. I also liked, you could say a lot of things about WWE. And I have, and I will. But I've said this before. They know how to do everything right. They just don't necessarily always do it right.
Right.
But they are doing everything perfectly with Roman Reigns. Like, there hasn't even been... Okay, I'm wrong. There has been one misstep. And that is this past summer when Roman Reigns was pinned. I probably wouldn't have done that, okay? But aside from that, they have done this perfectly. Not one single misstep. Even in this match, there's a 20-minute match. There's 8 million people in there. And every single thing they did with Roman Reigns is right. You know what I mean? Like, he spears John Cena. He's pushed as being an equal of John Cena. In fact, he's pushed as being maybe better than John Cena. Because John Cena got him in his unbreakable STF, and he was fighting and powering his way out of it when the lights went out. Roman Reigns was pushed as equal or better than all of the biggest stars in this match. He eliminated everybody in the Royal Rumble. I guess you could kind of call it a misstep if you want to, with Batista just kind of throwing him out. But, he was thrown out by the guy who is now going on to fight for the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania and is a former multi-time champion and a big star. So I guess you could argue that maybe something here or something there could have been a little bit better. But the reality is, statistically, percentage-wise, what they did right versus what they did wrong, statistically, they've done nothing wrong with the guy. How about that? They've just done a great job. And he was great in this match. They did everything. I mean, when this guy turns, unless they really screw something up badly, it's going to be a big, big, big deal. And he's going to be a big, big, big deal. So, there you go. That's the